I'm head coach Joe Sacco, and he specifically now has to pick up the pieces from a bad start under the guy he replaced, Jim Montgomery.
I'm going to make sure that as a staff, we try to correct this and move forward. I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm not going to lie. It's a great opportunity. This is like original six franchise.
The first test under the new regime is tonight at home against the Utah Hockey Club. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Bruins need a win to split the season series between the two teams. The Patriots held their first practice of the week yesterday in Foxborough with an eye towards a road game against Miami on Sunday. Christian Barmore, Dietrich Wise, and starting left tackle Verdarian Lowe are among the missing. One guy who was out there was offensive lineman Cole Strange, who made his first appearance of the season after a patellar tendon injury last year. He's apparently going to work at both guard and center. Week 12 of the NFL season begins tonight in Cleveland with the Browns hosting Pittsburgh. The Celtics celebrate their NBA championship one final time today at the White House with President Joe Biden. They visit the Washington Wizards tomorrow night. And former Red Sox pitcher Chris Sale won his first Cy Young Award last night. He was voted the National League winner for his work with Atlanta. Detroit ace Tarek Skubal was the unanimous winner of the AL honor. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Core Golf in Natick, the place to practice all year long. Keep your golf games sharp this winter with a membership to Core Indoor and catch up with friends over Thanksgiving or host your holiday party at Core Indoor. Book now at kohrgolf.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 985sportshub.com.
Afraid hello. 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 Mm-hmm. Hello. Hello. Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Body. Loopity about with a football.
98.5 The Hub. Bruins are back from the West Coast. Coast.
Cocaine and hookers. Yes. Na 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 na.
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah. Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch.
Crush me, mommy. Crush me with those.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy, Town Fair Tire Studios. You can certainly call us 617-779-0985. We are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube. Just search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube. Yesterday we had our pucks and paddles for the Special Olympics with the Bruins, and we'll get into it. Hardy and I didn't have to do very much, so it was. And the guy I was playing ping pong with was very cool. He actually was like, I got to go after half an hour, and I was a little disappointed. I was like, oh,
you wanted to keep hanging out with? Did you make a little friend?
Well, I don't exchange numbers or anything like you do.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he owns restaurants, and he gave me a card to one of his restaurants.
By the way, that is what my daughter likes to say to me after she sees me talking with someone or I mention somebody that I played golf with. She goes, "Oh, Daddy, did you make a little friend?"
Yeah. Yeah, you're a big fan of exchanging numbers. It's probably a healthy thing. I have a problem calling men. I'm not a big fan of calling men. And I don't think it's sissified or anything. I think it's a good thing to do. I think it's my relationship with my father, quite frankly. I think that I'm starting to think that I've been raised to think that it's an inconvenience to speak to someone, a man. Oh. I'll call a woman.
So you know what you are? You're the anti-Maz. Maz loves to call and have a little chin wag on the phone. He called me at dinner last night, and I said I'm actually out to dinner with Marcy and Calvin. He's like, "Oh, where are you? What are you eating?" And it's like Maz. And then he started giving me crap about something. I'm like, I'm going to hang up on you so I can eat my food. I did the discourtesy of answering the phone here at the table just to make sure, everything was cool.
Yeah.
But now that you hear that I'm actually in a restaurant with my family, and he's just laughing because he just wants to keep talking.
Yeah.
He loves to have a visit on the phone.
I don't mind when people call me. In fact, I talked to Adam even before Adam worked there, I would talk to Adam on the phone.
Yeah, regularly.
Regularly. And I like it. And if I'm going through something, I'll call men on the phone. I called you when all this stuff was happening last year. I called Adam and Hardy a lot. But if something's bad's happening, I'll call. But on a regular, I like it when people call me. I just have trouble. It's something I'm actually working on is reaching out to people. But so the guy I was playing ping pong with, we lost in the first round, but it was whatever. And Hardy went much further, but we'll talk about that. So this guy's got a service dog. There's a guy and another guy with a service dog, and the service dog's really behaving. And I'm talking to one of the guys, and then he introduces me to the guy he's with, and the guy he's with doesn't know who I am or why I'm there. So I'm telling you that he doesn't know who. It factors into the story. So I'm like, wow, that dog's really behaving. He goes, I'm a dog trainer. And I go, oh, okay. And I go, do you know? I go, can I ask you a question? I said, my dog, if he's alone with anybody, he's fine. And if it's me and another guy, he's fine. But if it's me and a female, even my daughter, he goes nuts. And he's like, well, because you're not the alpha. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, well, when you're walking, does he pull? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, because he's trying to lead the pack. And I said, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, he basically doesn't respect you. But he's crate trained, and he doesn't eat my food or anything. He knows not to go after my food. So I never do this, and I'm not expecting it. But if anyone can call in 617-779-0985. If a dog, while you're with a female, is pulling on the female's sleeve and to me it just seemed like he wanted to play, but to him it was that I was an undominant beta in the dog's eyes.
I'm gonna take this mate from you because I'm stronger than you. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's not the way he worded it. That would make sense, and I could infer that. He was more he's protecting you. He feels like he needs to protect the pack, that there's a leader of the pack, and the reason he's pulling is because he feels the need to protect you. But I always thought
not from guys, just from girls.
That's a little bit of a hitch in the whole thing.
Yeah, that's weird.
He doesn't bark when people come in at guys. He doesn't bark at women. He just gets mad excited and gets really crazed. And I always thought it because he eats my daughter's underwear and her pads. I've told you all this stuff, out of the trash at not at my house, at her mom's house. But I always just thought it was the scent. And I actually looked it up, and I actually talked to a trainer, and they're like, yeah, dude, that's they love the scent. The person that they like the most, they want the scent. And that's anything that has the most scent they want. And that made sense to me. And then I looked it up, and that was true. But now I'm feeling a little guilty because I'm this beta simp. I mean, the next thing you know, he's going to have me dressed as a fisherman. And we're going to be on the thing.
That's creative. I didn't see that coming. Did you see that coming, Hardy?
No, 609.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that just came right into my head.
That's really good.
Oh, no, and everyone who says to stop making fun of Belichick, that you're just, all you're doing is pouring gas on the fire, baby.
Yeah, that's not that. If that's really what you want, you're not helping.
No, you're not. There's when people tell me to stop doing something, and I think it's funny, that just is you're really pouring fuel on the fire.
So I'm sure we can get somebody who works with dogs or someone to call in. I have a friend who came over and worked with two of the dogs I've had, one of whom was a rescue, and this dog rescued from a feral existence where the trainer had determined, oh, this dog has never been in a place with a roof before he went to that first shelter, which is why he tried to chew his way out of his crate in that van that brought him up here from Tennessee, which is why he has, broken his teeth off trying to, crawl and chew his way out of doors. And that dog was an absolute handful, which we ended up finding a new place to live that he told me, he said, this dog wants to be outside. So, is there a place, we were looking around the yard where he could just live outside all the time? I'm like, what do you mean? What happens in the winter? He goes, oh, no, you put hay in there. You can put a little heater in there, but this dog is an outside dog.
Oh.
But he's like an enclosed
Your
shelter.
Dog isn't an outside dog.
No, he told us we would have to build something outside that would shelter the dog, but the dog could still be outside and remain somewhat feral. I'm like, oh, well, this is a nice family pet. We'll just have this wild animal. Why don't we just get a mongoose? Why don't we get a couple of raccoons and keep them out there with him? And he said, well, either that or you can get like 3 or 4 more dogs to show him, to teach him how to be a domesticated. It's like, dude, we live in a condo in Rossi.
This
like,
guy seems to be a real problem solver.
Well, he has his solution finally was, or you find a place that wants like a farm dog, because that's what this dog really wants to live like in a barn and have a place they can like sleep with the horses. And that's what we did. And last time we checked in, the dog's perfectly happy. But the other dog that we have now, he came in like second day after we got her. And he walked in the house, and he's a friend of mine, so he speaks very candidly. He's like, nope, 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 nope. I said, what? What nope? He's like, that rug, take it up. You'll be able to put it back down in 6 more months. That food, nope, that doesn't go there. He pointed where the crate was. He's like, nope, that doesn't go there. And he was right about everything in terms of how to climatize your dog, or how to get your dog living comfortably with you. And I would say at more than half of the things I thought were the right thing to do were the wrong thing.
I just think if the dog's crate trained, I don't know how it could be so upset at me. I don't, or not upset at me, think it's such an alpha. If it's just more than willing to let me put it in a crate, it's excited to go in the crate. I don't understand.
I don't know if I fully subscribe with you being the beta in this dog relationship.
There's some holes in that theory.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, he obviously is like a dog trainer. His dog was real well behaved, but I mean, I don't think there's, and I'm not I'm not looking at it as an attack on my masculinity. Obviously, I'm just thinking, I don't know why the dog would be not eat my food,
The whole male-female thing is weird, too.
Yeah, and that it's females. Yeah. Ben, go ahead.
Freddie, baby.
What's up, Benjamin? How are you?
YouTube loves you. I love you. Everybody loves you. Fred, here's the deal. I'm not really sure if this works with dogs. I think the same theory applies. A year after you and the dog split up, the dog will be unemployed, and a few weeks after that, the dog will post on a failed platform by 120,000 that it was almost there. It was so close, making progress.
Rich put up a tweet yesterday.
We're just going to say it today.
No.
Well, he bet people may not know.
Okay.
Rich put a tweet up yesterday, and I mean, I'm just so glad I don't work with him anymore. Because it was bad enough when he was putting garbage tweets up about our ratings when they were good. He's obviously spiraling. There's nothing more I can say about it. It's such an embarrassment that you just go look at it yourself. Go follow him. Hey, Rich, hey. Go look at it. And go read the comments. I mean, he's embarrassed himself. And again, the guy has learned absolutely nothing. Zero humility. And I'll just say it. John, Nick, and I are not overly pleased with him because we got information yesterday that he was planning some whole big theater affair behind our backs while we were all working together. And not when I was out with my throat and da-da-da-da-da. No, Like he was concocting some kind of event without the knowledge of John, Nick, and I. And well, Fred, you say, oh, you're picking up. How do you think John and Nick feel? Like this is something we all have to go to, and this prick is working behind the scenes on us. Do you understand how unbelievably just slimy and snaky? And it was like this whole. It appears to me to be this whole behind the scenes plan to like power play, and every week I find out something else he was doing, and I just can't stand him. In fact, the mother of my children, my ex-wife, told me, she goes, I responded to Rich's tweet. And I said,
how often is she on social media?
Just to look to see what he says.
Okay, so what I'm saying is this is a highly unusual thing.
Hates him.
I know.
And you know that.
I do.
She hates him. Stephanie, my ex-wife, the mother of my children, hates him. Hates him. So, she's always hated him. She's hated him forever. She feels that he's put her through way, way too much stuff going back 15 years with his erratic behavior during negotiations and other things. But there you go. So there's nothing more I have to say about it. It's just he embarrassed himself. Go look at it yourself. I got nothing to add. RJ, go ahead.
So the trainer you met is using kind of an outdated alpha training. That's not really how dogs are. They're really just gender specific. Male dog will typically fawn for a female trainer and then be lukewarm with men. So, if you kind of go a little harder on them, it's probably going to have the opposite effect.
Yeah, and I don't feel like doing that, Like, I don't really feel like spending my time, disciplining the dog, Like, like, if he does something wrong, and I also don't want to, put him in a crate as a punishment.
Yeah, this was the weird thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Crates. It sounds like you're doing good with the crate. That's a den animal, so it's seeing the crate as security. I'm sure you're feeding and treating in it as well. So
yeah, it's that. I mean, it was. I think the dog wants to. I think the dog is very hype. Is a hyper street dog, and I think that he wants to do. This is my opinion, and he wants to do well. He wants to please. He very much wants everyone to like him.
But he can't let go of his thuggish ways.
But he just loves that. He just loves ladies,
But the one dog that we couldn't keep in, it was aggressive. It had gone after a person or two, and that's a whole nother story. But one of the solutions, because this dog desperately wanted to be outside, had learned how to open the back sliding door. And my buddy said, this dog is going to throw himself through a window eventually. He said, what you have to do, and he also had a severe attachment to me. He said, you have to come in the house and ignore him for 20 minutes when you get home to distance yourself. And I said, once again, what every dog owner dreams of, walking through the door and ignoring your pet and ignoring his affections and his attention. I'm like, this dog doesn't even really want me. He's just, he wants something that I can't provide for him.
There is a point that guy has. So my dad and my mom had adopted this quote unquote golden retriever from a golden retriever rescue. This was no golden retriever. And the dog had obviously been severely beaten before they got her.
Yeah.
And so they had her for a long time. She just died last year, but she would follow my father everywhere. And my father was like, there's nothing I can do about it. And so we'd be sitting in the living room, and my dad would go into his office, which is next to where we were watching TV, and Ginger the dog would be standing out in sniffing around by us, and my dad would be like, Ginger, and I'm like, oh, you're not encouraging this at all.
Right.
No.
Right.
And then when the dog died, he was devastated because he was like, she only liked me. That was so important to my father to be the only one that the dog only liked him.
Oh my God, this psychology going on there.
Yeah, he's like, she only liked me.
I just every day, Fred, we learn something new.
Yeah,
every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it was
We
kind of
want to
sweet.
mourn the dog too. We want to have feelings about the dog. No, she only loved me.
No. This is a dog after I didn't live there, but yeah.
Well, how did your mom feel
no,
about
she
that?
did not like it at all. That dog bit me in the nose. John, you remember that?
Right. That's that dog.
The first time I ever met that dog, they can't get. They're too old. They can't get another dog. It will be my dog.
Right.
They get a puppy. First of all, they'll break their hips.
It's over.
That happened to my grandmother. They got a puppy, and the dog tripped her the first day and knocked her down.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Someone says to leash the dog around around women. I have done that, and that's actually a good idea because when I have him on the leash, he calms down. All right,
you have a harness for him, right?
Yeah, he has a harness. Yeah. A pink one, which adds a lot of confusion.
Does the harness pull on top or underneath?
You can do either. Where do you leash him?
Yes.
Top or you can do either one.
Okay.
And if I leash underneath, it's obviously more effective for him not pulling.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it just saves elbow tendonitis.
Yeah.
Because my dog is smaller than yours, I think, but she's strong, and if you're going on a long walk and you do that, it was after a couple of weeks after she is full grown. I'm like, man, why does my arm hurt? It's because when not even pulling so much, is just trying to get her back and to heal. Having the underneath leash attachment is better.
He pulls for the first half, and then he calms down. But he also takes phantom craps too. First of all, he pees on everything, and he even phantom pees. He runs out of pee and just starts lifting his leg for no reason. And then I told you I hate it because I do pick up his crap, and I did it this morning inside. But he'll go like he's taking a dump, but he'll have already done it 5 times, and nothing will come out. And I'm like, I know people are looking and thinking that he's taking a dump, and they're going to see that I didn't pick up anything. They're going to get all angry at me, he's
a phantom crapper. Maybe you could send him down to Rollins College. He could be a mascot for a certain fraternity down
for Sigma Phi Epsilon down there. They could be the Phantom Pooper. All right, very good. We will be back with everything that happened last night. So much happened last night. We'll have to catch up. We'll be right back. Toucher and Hardy. Hardy, what happened last evening?
Well, around midday yesterday, the Bruins finished up their practice, and they had a chance to speak to the media after the news that Jim Montgomery had been relieved of his head coaching duties. Joe Sacco named as his replacement, and everybody was talking about it yesterday. We'll start with Don Sweeney and what things were like with Montgomery there toward the end. A question along those lines.
You can't say that Monty came in and made...
Whether or not he had lost the room. Excuse me. I thought the question was in there. It is not. Did Monty lose the room?
You can't say that Monty came in and made a positive influence, a connection with players for 2+ seasons, and then turn around and say they just tuned them out. They haven't performed to the level they need to, and that's as simplistic as I say. Monty's a good coach. His communication skills are outstanding, but it wasn't, for whatever reason, translating into the results from the player side thing.
So they haven't tuned him out, but he was a good communicator. And they just weren't responding. It feels like a bit of a tune-out.
Yeah. I talked to the only guy I talked to yesterday, the only player I really talked to because of just the way the event was Marchand, because he's the only guy I really know on the team anymore. And he knows my son and his friend were there, and he knows he's met my son. I mean, he's probably met my son 50 times. And so now my son's big and everything. So he was like, and my son's friend played hockey. So the 99% of the conversation was about Marchand's kids in high school. He has a boy in high school playing hockey.
Wow.
So it was basically about like youth sports. He was asking Mile about baseball and da-da-da-da-da. And I went like, how do you feel? Like, meant physically, like, because he had all those surgeries. I'm like, how do you feel? And he's like, not great about everything that happened. And I'm like, yeah, I really liked Monty. I said, I didn't call him Monty. I'm like, I really like Jim. And he's like, yeah. And then, I would like.
There were some problems on the bench twice between those two.
I don't know. I think that he liked him. And I think that he is the impression that I get. Look, he didn't tell me anything. The impression that I get was that Brad is not thrilled that this happened. Maybe he knows it was going to happen based on performance and everything, but I don't think that Brad at his age and being a captain of this team is overjoyed that I'm inferring all of this is overjoyed that this like short into a season that the coach got canned.
It's weird that sometimes and with Cassidy, I think we think that the majority of that team was happy that he was gone, okay? But again, I thought the same thing going back and crossing sports about Bobby Valentine. And I'm sure a lot of guys were happy that Bobby Valentine was out. The only player that I talked to immediately after was Dustin Pedroia. Now, whether this was somebody who was just, saying all the right things in front of somebody who, worked in the media, or whether he really felt it, I believed it when he said nothing but positive things about Bobby Valentine. Among them is like, oh no, I learned a lot from him. That guy knows a lot about baseball. And
yeah, that's really strange coming from Pedroia, because I remember when Valentine in April started calling out guys like Kevin Youkilis, and they stuck a microphone in Pedroia's face, and Pedroia told the media, "No, we don't do that stuff here."
Right,
if you remember,
right?
correctly.
I remember it was like spring training right afterward.
No, it was it's like second week of the season.
Who was the shortstop on that team? The really like slick fielding shortstop.
It wasn't Lugo, was it?
No. He was like a defensive specialist. He was really good. He was like
Gonzalez?
No, he ended up playing for the Tigers afterwards.
Iglesias.
Jose. The best is when he learned a lot. The best was in spring training when Valentine was standing at short with Iglesias. Teaching him how to take grounders.
Yeah.
You're sitting there with Jose Iglesias teaching him how to take grounders.
Well, that's the type of thing I'm talking about, Fred.
I think that maybe Pedroia was like, I don't want to, unlike me, I don't want to speak ill of someone who just lost their job. So, here's the difference with Montgomery is that I haven't heard anyone in media say he's not going to get another job. Even this year, he might get another job. And I've never heard anyone say he's not a good coach. And I have never, ever, ever met anyone who didn't really like him. So he's a good coach. He's getting another job, and everyone likes him. I can't imagine anyone on this team feels great that he's gone. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't think that there needed to be a change or that they hadn't tuned him out. But I think when it happens, if you really like someone, it's happened here. If you really like someone and they lose their job or they leave, it sucks. Like, even if maybe it turns out to be like it turns out as something else. You don't like, or it's not your fault or whatever.
It's not something you celebrate in the moment.
Yeah, but I also think Montgomery was different. This felt a lot different than Cassidy. Cassidy felt like we're on the brink of something. Cassidy's holding us back, which, he's the message isn't getting through. He's holding us back. And this one feels more like you guys just didn't play hard. Like, you didn't play well, and you cost your coach the job.
I agree.
That's how it all feels
exactly
to me,
right.
because rare, dude, rare. When else in this town, including Belichick, every Red Sox manager, Adoka with his whatever he did, I don't even think he deserved to get fired for it, but whatever he did, how often does a coach get pushed out in this town and there's not at least 50% negative talk about the guy? No one's talking negatively about Jim Montgomery, and no one around the team can specifically pinpoint anything he did
exactly
to piss off the team.
Yeah.
He tried everything.
Right.
Cassidy was too
everything.
pissy. So he came in and he was the antidote for that. He was look, I'm going to be the nice guy. Then that didn't work. So he tried being an a-hole. He switched up all the lines. He tried everything.
Bench guys. Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's going like, Ty was saying that, you're asking him to outcoach 3 Stanley Cup winners. Okay, maybe that's a tall task, and maybe he's not as good a coach as Paul Maurice or the guy
Berube in Toronto.
I don't know about Berube in Toronto.
Cooper in Tampa.
Yeah, Cooper in Tampa. Maybe he's not as good a coach. Fine, but also I don't think anyone's going, wow, did you see what they were doing out there? They were all they obviously aren't being coached. They're all out of position. Like it just seems like they stopped playing.
Yeah, and this is something that it's a cliche we talk about all the time. Well, why does the coach have to get fired? Because you can't fire the entire team.
Right.
You can't move all these guys, and that seemed to be the most common type of response yesterday from both, well, in this case, David Pastrnak.
It's tough day. You obviously feel a big part of guilt, Monty is a heck of a coach. He taught me and us a lot, so it's obviously a tough day, and, you feel a big part of the guilt because at the end of the day, us players are the one performing out there, and we weren't getting it done, and, because of we weren't getting the job done, we lost a great coach and amazing human being, and so it's tough.
And just real quickly, Fred, along what you said about Brad Marchand, very much the same thing.
Very disappointing day. Also very frustrating. This is a reflection of our, our play, and it was avoidable. And I think that's the tough part about this is that if we would have done our job in here, he'd still be around. And so I feel terrible as a group, individually, that we let a really good coach and a really good person down.
Is it possible now that with players, we agree, pretty much got the coach fired? Can we agree that the players can get the GM fired at the end of the season?
Well, Sweeney talked about it. I mean, Sweeney said several times that he's next.
Bruins GMs, they usually comes to a head. There's one specific instance, like way back, you talk about Mike O'Connell traded Joe Thornton, and that blew up in his face. It was a horrendous trade, and he got fired basically because that trade did not go well for him. Peter Chiarelli, took a Stanley Cup winning team, and then they didn't make the playoffs in 2015, and he got fired. And now his replacement is here, and he put this roster together. He fired the coach that he himself hired. The players aren't playing well. I think Sweeney is let go at the end of this season if they do not play well.
He knows it. He referred to it several times in the press conference. And by the way, I think Chiarelli was I don't think his personality did him any favors. But
Right.
Yeah,
He lasted 8 years.
So when Sweeney talked about it, he used something like, I have it. It's something like organizational faith or faith in the organization, which includes him, obviously.
But look at a run as a general manager. Okay, so you take over for a Stanley Cup winning franchise with its core kind of in place. They have, in reality, had a pretty long run of good play for a team that's been changing this much personnel over that time and has lost that much of their core. But now you're ending that time, and if they don't make the playoffs, you got to replace them. And it's not, if I'm Sweeney, I don't even feel bad about it. I'm like, all right, cool. That was my run, and that's what I did, and I did all I could do there. I wish we would have won a cup, but we didn't, and that's my run. You can't. Yeah, of course this is the end. There's nothing else for them to do.
And if you look back on it, the way they lost to Florida after that historic season pretty much cost Sweeney his job, because we all remember all the moves he made to stack that roster. None of us disagreed with them. I mean, he traded all those first-round picks. He brought in all these guys that he knew were going to leave at the end of the season, and he wasn't able to draft in the first round, and the players he drafted never panned out. I mean, he went 5 years before he was able to promote a draft pick to the NHL team. And here we are. He put it off a couple of years, but the players are going to force this organization to turn the front office completely over.
It's tough, though. I mean, the guy did everything that you just mentioned, John, in order to build a team that won, got more points than any other team in history, but wasn't really built for the playoffs. That team wasn't built to beat Florida. So if that was the beginning of the end, so be it. And he'd look back and say, look at the regular season. All very nice. Yeah. That's cute, but that's not.
But that's been my point all along. Is that Ty said, they freaked out for Florida and they built a team to beat Florida in the playoffs, and I don't know if I have a problem with that. Like if they don't make the playoffs, then I have a problem with it. But I don't care if they squeak into the playoffs by 2 points. If they get into the playoffs and they're built for the playoffs, which is what Montgomery thought anyway.
Right, that's what they thought they were doing this time around. Yeah, they were doing the opposite of the record-setting season.
That's why none of this stuff ever freaked me out. I mean, but the loss against Columbus at home was obviously terrible. And I'd pay attention tonight. Tonight's a game you got to watch because we'll see. Just like other teams, you think, what do you call it, the dead cat bounce? Is that what you call it?
Yeah,
dead cat bounce.
Yes.
We'll see if they come out motivated, or we'll see if they come out even more flat, if that's possible.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, all right, dead cat bounce.
All right, we'll be back with more. Here are the headlines. Elongating.
Weekday mornings.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Let's roll the dice.
The Sports Hub.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Jay, go ahead.
Hey, so first off, I'm one of those people. I want preseason through Game 7 of the Cup Finals to be called exactly the same. That being said, I think this is the team's response to having finesse play get beat up, where interference has to be egregious, elbows aren't called. You can't just skate around people, and this is their response. This is the team. They're getting skated around. They're getting pushed around, and I just think it didn't work out the way they thought it was going to.
Well, did you hear the stat on the hits a game? Like, I mean, they're getting out hit a tremendous amount, which wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, they're supposed to get a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Outplayed. Every game looks like a pickup game. These guys look like they've never played together before.
Yeah, and if anything, the Montgomery thing shook them up because, again, I mean, Hardy's got more audio, but again, I don't think anyone on that team disliked him, and I don't think anyone on that team thought he was a bad coach. Because I haven't heard one player from anywhere, one analyst from anywhere, or anyone with the organization say that he's not going to get another job.
Okay, so there's two things. Number one, in terms of like the size of the guys and the hitting and all that stuff, yeah. If they were moving around and skating with any kind of urgency or determination, then yeah, they'd probably be out there laying a lot more hits, but they weren't. You know, the size of the guys allows them to make good hits if they're in the right position, but they weren't. And I think it was Jaffe who said this a couple of days ago, Fred, when I asked, you know, what type of message do you need to go out there if you're Pastrnak to just shoot the puck? What is the problem in there? And I think it was Jaffe who said something about they were just too comfortable.
Yeah, he was saying that. No, it wasn't. Believe me, it wasn't.
Was it
Jaffe.
McBride?
Yeah, it was McBride or Anderson or something. I don't think it was
maybe
Jaffe.
it was Ty. Well, Don Sweeney said something very similar yesterday.
Did players get a little relaxed or comfortable having good years last year and just think it was going to be a fait accompli that they go out and execute the same level? Maybe that trickled in. No, from the standpoint of no movements, I mean, players that had no movements, players that had no trades, they've moved around this league, and that'll continue to do so. We're going to identify the guys that love being here, love representing the Boston Bruins, and if they don't, then I will make some changes as a result of that, and performance will drive it.
Yeah, I'm sure you wasn't Jaffe that said that.
No. Well, let's check in with the new coach who will be at the helm tonight for your Boston Bruins, talking about the performance of players. Yeah, Joe Sacco had something to say about that.
I need to start getting relationships with these guys, get more personal with them, find out what makes them go. If it's something that's different from player A to player B, I need to know that. Certainly, there's a lot of guys that are underperforming right now. As a staff, we're going to pull it out of them. I'm confident we are, but it's going to take some work. It's not going to happen overnight.
Oh, sure. Well, it better happen tonight.
Oh boy!
Yeah, you come out and lay an egg against Utah at home.
It's like there's no waiting around here. I mean, this is it's time immediately.
Soft spot of the schedule.
There's no. Yeah, they got Pittsburgh coming up real soon. You got some winnable games here,
and it's so easily identified. Well, I shouldn't say easy. It's pretty easy to identify in a hockey game when guys are not engaged, and they could lose a 1-0 game tonight, and we could look back and say, they played great. They were out there and they were moving and they were doing everything they could. They just,
that would be concerning for another way. Like if they were trying, why can't they beat Utah?
Well,
bad luck. Well, they've already lost to them once.
No, I know, but that was with the old coach.
But if it's puck luck or something, whatever. But there are ways of you just watch the game, and we've seen plenty of games in this already. This is pretty early on this season where it's like, God, they weren't moving very well. They just didn't seem to be all that engaged.
I agree with
that I think we'll be able to identify pretty early tonight.
They better win tonight. That's my opinion. And did you know that they didn't sell out the game on Monday night?
Yes, that was a Ty Montgomery stat. They were 300 seats short. I did see that. That's the first time in 15 years?
Yeah, they didn't sell out, and that is going to get ownership's attention because we've talked about this before. As popular as this team is in town, when there is apathy for this team, they do not sell tickets. As evidenced, when I moved here, I'll say it again, in 2006, I could not give away tickets.
Yep.
So there is a precedent for this team, in my time in Boston, being a complete afterthought and being empty. And you cannot have that if you're the owners. In the National Hockey League, you need that gate. You don't get that gate, you're screwed.
What does Brad Marchand think of his new coach?
Are things going to be different? I think that, that's to be seen a little bit. It's all very fresh, and we have a lot to go through as a group with Joe and how we're going to do things differently and where we can improve. But, when things like this happen, it's a rude awakening.
All right, we'll see.
Again, I don't think Brad's super proud of everything that happened. I think as captain and someone who's been around, and I think he liked Jim Montgomery. I just think he feels bad. So he feels bad all that has happened.
There was a clip going around yesterday of another exchange that they had on the bench.
Yeah, it was last weekend.
And somebody said, look how Montgomery points to his own chest, and then Marchand replies by tapping the C on his sweater. And we're like, was Montgomery saying you're the captain, play like it? And Marchand had something to say. Someone else said Marchand has this tick where he's constantly adjusting his shoulder pads, and he kind of just gives him a tap every once in a while, which I've never seen, but that could be it. But this is the stuff that all got dissected yesterday. What was the relationship like between those two? I think all that you really need to know now, Marchand sounds legitimately, if not humbled by it, feels a little guilty about it. I think a lot of those guys do.
So the question for the room is, does this work or not? In your opinion, is this like Bruce Cassidy, who waited a decade for another chance, like Sacco has waited a decade for another chance to be a head coach, and here it is, and he jumpstarts the team and they go on and play well? Or does the talent across the roster continue to bring the overall performance down?
If they make the playoffs, I think they would have made the playoffs anyway with Jim Montgomery. And if they do well in the playoffs and they win a couple rounds, then I'll give the credit to the coach. But if they just make the playoffs, I'm not going to say that was because of a coaching change. Now, if they go and rally off 10 out of 12 games or something, then I'll go, yeah, it was the right decision. But if they, if they win 60% of their next games and get into the playoffs, say they finish with 85 points or 80 points and make the playoffs, I mean, I'm not going to throw a parade and go, Montgomery couldn't have done that. Montgomery could have beat Utah tonight. I mean, who knows?
I'm really worried that the Pavel Zacha we saw before he got here and the Charlie Coyle we saw before he got here are the Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha that we're going to get for the rest of the season.
Or how about
Elias Lindholm, who did not play well last year, whether or not it had anything to do with moving to a new city or whatever it is. I mean, whatever the case is, those three guys are huge on this team, and none of them are playing well.
When I first moved to Boston, I should have said, or Atlanta, I should have said, you'll have to give me a year on the radio before I can fully
I got to settle in.
I'm settling in.
There's no time for any of this. Those three guys have to play well now, and I don't know if they can. I don't know if what we saw from Zacha and Coyle the last 2 years is the outlier or the real thing. I'm worried it's not.
And by the way, Fluto reported something yesterday that it referred to if Swayman if this continued, if Swayman was going to have more problems in the locker room, something along those lines, meaning that there are problems in the locker room with Swayman. And Fluto, Fluto.
He's not one of those outlandish guys.
Yeah, he's not looking for clicks. He's not looking for you to follow him on Twitter.
That is very concerning. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the team. What I'm inferring that I think there were some people on the team, probably captains, and I don't know this, but I'm thinking I really don't know this, that were annoyed with Swayman, and then how Jamar Chase choked the long snapper coming off the field?
Oh, no, that was Debo Samuel.
Okay, Debo Samuel choked the long snapper coming off the field because they were missing field goals?
Yes.
If a guy publicly holds out, gets signed the day before the season, and then comes out and sucks, wouldn't you want to strangle him? Like, wouldn't you be like, dude, what the heck? Like, why didn't you come to camp? Why didn't you do more? Like, we're losing games because of you.
And personally, why are you making so much money? But that's my own thing that I got to work through.
Yeah, I want everyone to make as much money as possible because, a rising tide, or,
You got it. No, go ahead. Finish.
Raising tide.
Yep, raising tide.
Helps all boats.
You got it.
Hey!
That's not it.
No.
Yeah.
What is it?
Rising tide lifts all boats?
Okay.
Good enough. That's fine.
Because I was going to say, how do you
May
go
not be
rising
perfect,
and
but
then
it's good.
rising again?
No, you're fine.
This
Stuck
is
the
another.
landing. Good job.
Is it sentient? Sentient.
Sentient. Is it a sentient? I don't know. We got a call yesterday.
Sometimes there are phrases and words I've read or I kind of know, and then I get.
You have a bigger vocabulary
You
than
got
you
a
know how
little
to
big
use. I
Lebowski in
understand.
you. If there's a phrase that you hear and you like, you'll start peppering it in for a couple of days, and then it kind of goes away. But it's
absolutely
very Lebowski-esque.
Absolutely. Oh, there's no question about that. No way, Jose. That's what I do.
By the way,
you're welcome.
Congratulations, Gino Auriemma. I know everybody's celebrating that big.
And I couldn't have turned off ESPN Radio faster.
They led with that?
They go, yeah. They go,
what, were you pulling in the garage? Here, let me play.
And a record has been set.
No, everyone's going to turn this off. I gotta turn it down. So just 2 seconds. So they go like Gino Aaron, because nothing happened last night. So they go, this fella.
Gino Auriemma.
Yeah, he said, "Stop it!" They're like, he set the record. I go, okay, that's nice. And then they go, and now here's analysts from blah blah blah. Analysis
Let's bring in
from blah, blah.
Sue Bird
First
and
of all,
Diana Taurasi.
First of all, what's
Final
what do you have to analyze? I mean, the guy won more games than anyone.
11 national championships.
And I just was like, all right, what's Eddie Trunk got to say? All right.
Win streaks of 70,
We'll be right
90,
back.
and 111.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube. If you search 95 The Sports Hub on YouTube. Now, if you're listening to this show, chances are there was at least a time in your life that you, if you're not currently doing it, that you collected baseball cards. As John knows very well, I have during COVID, I lost my mind with my son and started buying all these baseball, thousands and thousands of
The
baseball
phrase
cards.
"hog wild" comes to mind.
You were investing.
Yeah, they're paying off. Yeah, if you want that Duke Snyder card, that's up on eBay.
Box break every other day in the Toucher household.
Absolutely, and but we've all when we were kids, like it's odd because you would be looking for that Ken Griffey Jr. rookie, you would be looking for that Tony Gwynn rookie, you would be looking for that famous Cal Ripken rookie, and oddly enough, the Cal Ripken rookie and the certainly the Ken Griffey Jr. rookies are almost of no value. So that's good to know because that was the junk wax era. It's certainly not the Cal Ripken Jr. For some reason, I have a Cal Ripken Jr. graded and it's not worth anything.
Even the upper deck Griffey is now worthless.
I think that I mean, they're not worthless.
I have that in a frame. You're telling me that's not worth anything?
Yeah, you have like all his ones in the frame, right?
I do. All the
think,
rookie cards.
I think the reason they're presented that way is their lack of value. I think that there was a huge value to it. But anyway, the point is this. I've gone through my parents' attic as an attic at their old place, at the new place as an adult, searching for baseball cards, and I found some, and there was like an Ozzie Smith rookie, and I lost my mind. That's why I think that we all believe that this is an interesting story. It's been on the news. Guy's name is Jeff Gross. Jeff, thank you for joining us, sir.
Hey, good morning. I can tell I'm talking to collectors here.
Yes, we are all nerds. All right, so here's the deal. Just you tell us what happened recently. You tell us. I won't tell the story. You do.
Sure. So, yeah, you mentioned a gold ticket, I think, on your promo. That's kind of what I found myself in. So there are a lot of us nerdy collectors out there, and we were selling my wife's childhood home and had a yard sale. And, of course, nothing sells at yard sales, but a gentleman rides by on his bicycle and just starts striking up a conversation with my wife, and I hear baseball cards. So, of course, I'm bored by the yard sale. I lean in to hear more. And he said, yeah, I inherited this collection from my dad, and they're pretty old. And he mentions Cy Young, Ty Cobb, and I'm like, okay, this is big boy stuff, right? And so we make arrangements to get together, and about a month later, so he sends me a spreadsheet with all the cards, and I know more about cards than I should, probably like you guys, but I recognize them all except for one spreadsheet, and I don't know these, and it says Sunlight Bakery, Morehouse Baking, and I don't know what these are. So I reach out to my expert, someone who knows the hobby even more than I do, and again, I know way more than I need to. And my expert, he says, I don't know what these are either. I'm like, okay, what could they be? So he reaches out to his expert, and one of the names on the list is Joe Jackson. And this is 1916. So I'm like, all right, this is Shoeless Joe before he got bounced from baseball. So I'm like, okay, this is a big deal because Joe Jackson cards are pretty hard to find from that era. So the expert sends me a text, and he said, if this card is proven to be real, your friend has a card that was only rumored to exist. And I'm like, okay, this is a big deal.
Yeah, wow.
So the last part of the story is as if it hadn't already blown my mind, gets even better, because now I'm super excited. I'm clearly not going to be able to afford to buy the collection, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can help him sell it or find the right strategy to sell it. So a couple of days before, I'm already pretty jazzed up to go and see his collection at his home. And so I said, hey, you still good for Sunday? He's like, yeah. By the way, I found a few more cards. And I went, you did? What are they in the same Morehouse collection? He goes, yeah, they are. And then he mentioned something, and I asked my wife to read this text. I said, am I reading this right? And he said something about the better of the two Babe Ruth cards. And I went, oh, boy. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay.
It turns out that these cards have never been bought and sold in the hobby, at least publicly. They've never been graded. Sounds like you understand the grading process.
But I do want to get into that. I do want to get into that. I do want to get into that. Sure. So first of all, this guy has got these cards. if you wanted to have, do you think that you could have gone to the guy and gone, I'll buy your collection for $1,000?
He's a very smart guy.
Okay.
So no, but I will tell you, and it's not great. Most of the people in the hobby as collectors and dealers are good people, but there's a sketchy factor out there. And I've bought and sold pretty expensive cards before, not at this level. The Ruth card is in the REA auction starting tomorrow at noon. And the minimum bid's $150,000.
Yeah, I want to get into that, but I want to talk about keep going with the honesty part. Go.
The honesty thing. Yeah. So I reached out to a couple of guys that I know, probably on the same Facebook vintage pages that you all know, or there's also a message board called Net54 where these crazy advanced collectors all kind of share knowledge. And I talked to a couple of people that do buy big collections, and they gave me advice on how to approach the purchase of this collection. And this is really lousy. I mean, they could have taken advantage of him. But again, I don't think you could have walked in and offered $1,000. But if someone walked in and looked at the collection and said, I have $50,000 cash in my wallet here, would he have sold? I don't know. But it's been a super fun process because we pretty much partnered on this. But yeah. I mean, when people find these things and go search your attic today, especially if you're in Lawrence, Massachusetts, where the Morehouse Baking Company used to be, my advice is don't go to a card show to sell it.
No.
Yeah.
No, because their job is to undercut.
You know that.
Yeah.
You guys know that. If you go to a card show, people walk around with these wonderful cards and they say to dealers, hey, you buying? And the dealer's like, if I can turn it around fast, of course I can. And here's 60% of the retail value.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind why people do that.
Okay, so you get these cards, you see these cards. Now they're not graded, they're loose cards. And so now you're dealing with like a fragile lottery ticket. Any mishandling of this can lower the grade. Any finger smudging, dust, anything can do this. So what's the process? So now you have, let's say, I mean, you might have $1 million worth of cards here. So you go, all right, what's the next step? So you guys have the cards and you're working with the cards. What do you do at this point?
So the nerd collectors here will appreciate this. So the National Sports Card Convention is held every year, and this year it was in Cleveland. And it fortunately happened to be 2 weeks after I met with him. So I booked a ticket and flew out to Cleveland with one purpose, which is to go interview the major auction houses. And I knew this was a substantial find. So no offense to the moderate-sized ones. I just went to the big guys. I went to Heritage, I went to Golden, and I went to REA. And it was pretty clear to me. I brought one or two of the raw cards, not the Ruth, of course. I'm not traveling with that. But one or two of the raw common cards just so they could look at it to verify they were real, and photos of the rest. And all three of those companies were pretty excited about this. My day job is I do business deals in healthcare, and the collector and I sat down in my nerdy baseball room. I sent you some photos, by the way.
Yeah, it's very impressive. It's very impressive.
That's a COVID project there.
Yeah, I can relate.
Huh?
I can relate. Yeah, COVID. Yeah,
yeah right.
I did this.
Yeah, we can share stories, and we just went through and decided that REA was the best company, and we have certainly not regretted that decision.
And now they get those graded through, because I see they're graded through PSA. Did they get those? Do you hand the collection over and then they handle it? They handle the grading.
Yeah,
and
that was
everything?
a fun part of the story too. When we reached out to REA, the president and owner of REA, Brian Dwyer, great guy. Young guy. He owns the company. He actually, when we told him on Friday, I'm losing track of my dates. We told him on a Friday that we've decided to move forward with him. He booked a flight and flew into Logan on Monday and came here in this little baseball room of mine with the owner, myself, and Brian, signed contracts, handed over the cards. And then we drove to Lawrence and took pictures of the Ruth and Jackson in front of the former Morehouse Baking Company building, which is still there. So that was kind of cool.
Okay, and so I saw you sent Adam the catalog. So this is all being auctioned off. There's this huge, legit looking catalog. How much are they guessing? Because I know what you guys are asking, and it's going to go for more. How much do you estimate approximately what this collection will go for at auction?
Well, with all my conversations with folks, I think the speculation is that there's two routes. Only one is available in this particular auction. The speculation is that's going to be somewhere in the range of $500,000. And then the rest of the cards that are in there, Joe Jackson, Jim Thorpe, the Olympian, there's one in there when he's with the New York Giants, bunch of Hall of Famers. And there's some thought that the rest of those combined might be another $50 to $100K.
Okay, so just real quick, why is the Babe Ruth card? Because that mantle sold at auction for what was it, like $2.5 million? What did the mantle sell for?
Yeah, it's over $2 million.
Yeah, why is the Babe Ruth? Because it's in decent condition. It's a 3.5. Why is the Babe Ruth estimated at $500,000 and just at $500,000?
I would like to ask the really wealthy guys that same question. I'm not entirely sure. I don't spin around at that level. I read the same stories probably that most collectors do. I suppose, that image that you see on that Babe Ruth card was a commonly used image used by the Sporting News initially. And then they subbed it out to companies like the Morehouse Baking Company where they put it in loaves of 10-cent bread to incentivize kids to buy bread. So maybe it's because there are other what they call advertising backs than this one. Supply and demand. I mean, this is truly, I was going to say one of one. I guess in this case it's 2 of 2, right? 2 of 2 known cards.
Well, it's cool. So how much do you think, I stopped you before you said, so Babe Ruth, it's going to go over $500,000. The Joe Jackson, you said, is in six figures too. How much do you think this whole thing goes for at the end of the day?
I think the Morehouse cards themselves, which is everything that's in the REA auction, is probably between $600,000 and $700,000 total. But there's another Ruth card that they're auctioning off in the next auction sometime in the spring, I think. I don't know the dates. And also, and I'm literally staring at them right now, he has another 800 cards. Most of them are pre-war, what they call T205s, and T206s. So these are cards that were tucked in packs of cigarettes back in 1910. Because what better way to incentivize kids to smoke than to put their favorite baseball player in there, right?
They should still do that.
Yeah. So I've been helping sell those cards privately. Like I said, I buy and sell. But for something of this rarity, that needed to go to auction. But I've been having a ball selling his other tobacco cards online. I bought a few myself.
Where do you sell them at? What site?
I have a website myself, but I don't sell there. That's to help people sell, so they don't get taken at card shows. But no, there are several Facebook pages that are dedicated to vintage cards, and there are 4 or 5 that are really good, low on the scammer rate. So if anybody has cards and they want to learn how to sell on Facebook, they can reach out to me. I'll tell you the 3 or 4 sites that I trust the most. But there's a really good community out there, and you can avoid the knuckleheads.
Yeah, that's good. Well, listen, you showed Adam that you have a rookie George Brett, a card that I have as well.
Right?
How much is that worth?
More in our hearts than in our wallet, I'm afraid to say. I don't know, a couple $100, $300.
Yeah, one of those. Even the mini one, even the because I got the little one. It's not the big one.
It's funny, yeah. I can tell from your question. Back in the day, the mini used to be valued more, and there's not much of a premium anymore on the mini over the normal one. But
I don't care for that.
When people come to me all the time, and since the story broke, I've had a lot of people say, "Hey, can you help me sell my cards?" I'm like, I'd love to. Tell me what you have. Well, I got a bunch of cards from the mid-'80s to the early '90s, and I have to break the news to them, which is there's really no financial value. They're fun cards,
Right.
Bo Jackson, the Billy Ripken era card, all that stuff. They're fun cards. They're just not terribly valuable.
No.
But I'm trying to help them learn how to sell themselves because you can sell them. You just have to have, reasonable expectations. It's the crazy old stuff where the big money and the insane collectors are,
or the one of one new stuff. Luka Doncic at auction just went for $1 million. So there are new cards, but you're right. Yeah, that.
I don't know much about that. I'm not into that.
Yeah,
but
it's not as fun. But I believe, my most expensive cards that I have are new. So yeah, that's for sure. All right.
Well, you're all invited to visit my baseball cave, and that's an honest offer. And anyone who comes to visit and puts up with my boring tour and walkthrough of all the stories behind these players, because there's some wacky guys to talk, Rube Waddell and others, you get to open a free pack of 1987 Topps baseball cards, and if you're brave enough, you can chew the 40-year-old gum.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
nice! A little rectangle. I like it.
Yeah, and in '87, that's a 25-cent investment for you, Mr. Gross.
That's how much I care about my guests, though.
That's right. Jeff Gross.
Wait. Maybe you'll be more impressed with this. I'm selling myself short. You have three choices. I'm looking at the boxes now. The '87 Topps pack, which is kind of popular with my friends and guests because they like to say they chewed 40-year-old baseball gum. 1990 Upper Deck, which is not valuable, but they're cool-looking cards, second-year Griffey. The one that I think if you come to visit you'll want is I have a box of 89 Fleer, and I specifically bought this box from an unopened guy who was able to assure me that it had the right serial number, that it does have the error card for Billy Ripken, and any of your collectors that know anything. And someone actually pulled an FF card for Billy Ripken from this box.
If you don't know, there was a run of cards where Billy Ripken had on the butt of his bat F face, and and they found it too late, and so there's a certain printing of cards that have that on it.
Very valuable.
And well, I guess not, but so the Brett card's not worth that much. I didn't think it was worth like a ton, but I mean, look at
enough to buy us lunch.
Yeah.
Nice show lunch.
Yeah, no,
that was Missoula.
Those cards from the 70s, I don't know. I mean, when I got into vintage heavy about 6 or 8 years ago, I kind of made a note to myself, like, I'm not doing this to make money. I don't want to lose money, which I haven't. They've appreciated, but it's hard to make money in this hobby. You can, but it's speculators. It's tough. If you're a collector and you love the cards and you love the stories of the players and so on, you can enjoy it and make some money, but I've never been a big fan of saying, okay, and you can.
It's a huge pain in the ass. Really, if you want to make money at it, it's a huge pain in the ass, and it's like, and then you're playing the lottery at a certain point. I understand what you're saying. You gotta like them, because if you don't value them, then what's the point? All right, Jeff Gross, listen. It's very exciting. How do people get in touch with you if they want? Do you have your own website? What is it?
I do. It's nice of you to ask. Jeff Gross Vintage Baseball Cards. Very, very creative name. I hope people know what I do.
Well, that's not what you want out of it. You want it to be uncreative.
You don't want it cute.
Yeah,
you don't want to know where they can find you.
With a last name like Gross, it's hard to forget that name, and it's Vintage Baseball Cards. So
there you go. John
Wallach needs to define it pre-1970 Vintage Baseball Cards.
Yeah, John Wallach's in radio, and his effing social media tag is Ken Griffey Rules.
Very catchy.
Ken Griffey does rule.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
That's terrible marketing.
Toucher.
His marketing does not rule. All right, Jeff Gross, thank you so much for the time. It's everyone's fantasy.
All right, guys, great talking to you. And don't forget, come by so you can dig into one of these packs.
Absolutely.
No problem. And by the way, that Mickey Mantle card, we were talking about Mantle rookie, $12 million.
Yeah, I don't know why
1952 Mantle, $12 million.
I suppose it's just, I don't know. It's like you said, it's all speculative. Who knows? All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Is someone leaving the college ranks to go coach in the NFL? We will discuss. Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, and if you're a fan of the Patriots or a handful of other teams, your thoughts have already gone to the NFL draft. And who is going to be going number one? Now, listen, if the Patriots by some chance get the number one pick, they're obviously going to trade it away. You would hope so. Because there are drafts where a quarterback is not considered the number one prospect. It gets rarer and rarer. But if you had the number one pick, you have to be interested in quarterbacks, even though you won't be taking one. And that is the situation that the Patriots in. Now, a lot of people are thinking that, why does ESPN kick me out all the time of my stupid account?
Oh, I just got kicked out of my Beasley email twice.
Really?
No, they decided like midway through the show today my password had expired.
I mean,
that's fun.
I was going on the assumption I could just get this going.
All right.
As soon as I looked at this. All right. Let me see this. Does this work? Shedeur Sanders, anyway, yes, it did. Is considered by many to be the number one quarterback prospect. Now, in fact, ESPN has him going number one to the Giants, who are going to trade with Jacksonville in this scenario. So let's say Shedeur Sanders goes number one. Now, Shedeur Sanders is obviously Deion Sanders' kid. He went to, was it Jackson State with him? Him and Travis Hunter went to Jackson State.
Yep.
Travis Hunter should not win the Heisman Trophy. That kid from Boise State should.
Aston Genty.
Aston Genty. Go look at his stats compared to the last four Heisman Trophy winners that were running backs, and he's through 10 games, and he's lapping them. He's lapping Derrick Henry. He's lapping Reggie Bush. He's lapping all those guys. And if Shedeur Sanders goes number one, Deion has said he's definitely going to tell his son, he's going to go to NFL teams and say, don't take my son. He's going to do an Eli Manning and say, don't take my son.
Right.
Which automatically is a red flag. Because Shedeur Sanders I have not heard of him being compared to a Caleb Williams, a Drake May, or a Jaden Daniels.
He's not a unanimous number one either. I mean, I was
the kid from Miami.
Our buddy Jeff Howe posted something yesterday saying that while Sanders is number one now, a lot of evaluators think the guy's name you're talking about is Cam Ward.
Yes. And now Shedeur Sanders has just said he's going to play in the East-West Shrine Bowl, which is weird because usually guys of his caliber don't play
in bowl games, just skip postseason games for fear of getting hurt.
Right.
But he's playing in this.
And so, especially for the East-West Shrine Bowl, this is a huge name playing in it. But this is not a draft you'd be reaching at number one. There's better players in the draft than Shedeur Sanders. But if you need a quarterback, you need a quarterback. So Deion has told teams, look, I'm going to tell some teams not to take Shedeur. That's a red flag. Michael Irvin, who has never had any problems, is sitting with Colin Cowherd, and they're talking about it.
You do believe, and I do too, that if Shedeur went to the Cowboys, Deion would accept the job.
I believe 100%. And I can tell you, good sources have told me that. Great sources have told me that. That's all I can say like that without violating anything else.
Wait, you mean to tell me you think Deion would leave the great University of Colorado after the two kids that he recruited there that are responsible for them winning?
Not buying it.
Leave and he would go coach his son in the pros?
No.
All I got to say is, oh, Lord, please let it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Please. You saw what happened to the Jets when they gave Aaron Rodgers the organization? He hired actual NFL coaches, and it was a failure.
Yeah, forget Bill going there. I want to see this. I want to see this. 8,000% I want to see this.
Bill Belichick coached the NFL. The best thing that could happen is he fails.
No, I'm just thinking about the storyline of him working with Jerry and all that stuff and how he'd make Dallas better.
That's behind
I don't want
the
that
scenes
anymore. I want this.
This
is what I want.
No, you want this.
Yes.
Shedeur Sanders. I don't even care if it's Dallas. If it's Dallas, then you have Jerry and Shedeur and Deion all working and fighting.
There are 2, 3, 4 teams that could make this mistake.
Yeah, but if you take I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to take Deion Sanders to get Shedeur Sanders. I think you're handing.
You don't think Las Vegas would do this?
No.
Oh,
no,
I do.
No, not. Dude, he owns $1 billion franchise. There's no way. But if it did happen, oh, would it be glorious? you'd be giving your organization over to crazy-ass Deion Sanders and his kid. The disaster, the unmitigated disaster. It would be so hysterical. Now, at first, it would come off as beautiful because all the players love Deion. Everyone would love Deion. He'd immediately command respect. I don't doubt Deion knows football. He's done a great job at Colorado. Now, he does have Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter that never would have gone to Colorado. But nonetheless, he took them from a crappy team, and then in 2 years, he's a 2-loss team that has an outside chance of making the college playoff. So Deion can coach. There's no question, or recruit a little bit. The idea of him going to an NFL team, and you're handing the team to that maniac, he couldn't run a charter school system. You give him that an NFL franchise and just go, you and your kid do whatever you want. And he goes, no, I assure you, I won't do that. I won't do that. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. He lets the kids at Colorado, and it's a smart thing, put their Twitter handles on the back of their practice jerseys.
Right.
Like the amount of anarchy that would come out of that would be just fantastic. And for who? For Shedeur Sanders?
So, all right.
It's not Andrew Luck.
We're talking specifically about Las Vegas, right? And whether or not the Raiders would do it. Would Mark Davis do it?
No. Mark Davis looks goofy and does weird stuff, but according to Breer and everyone else, he's a damaged man. His father was not nice to him. But he's not, I did the dumb imitation of him. He's not mentally, he's not brain damaged. I mean, he's a functional adult.
Not that he's brain damaged, but he handed the team to Antonio Pierce because the players wanted him to.
Oh, that's unfair, John. A lot of analysts around the NFL thought Antonio Pierce should have gotten that job. And just because it hasn't worked out, most coaches don't work out. That wasn't a Jeff Saturday hire. Like
no.
Irsay just went, let's give Saturday the job.
No. That's not fair. I'm not comparing that to this. What I am saying, specifically for Las Vegas, we read reports, and I think Breer sat here and told us that there was going to be anarchy in that organization from the players if Pierce didn't get the job. So, I mean, Davis was under a little bit of pressure.
No, but I can understand that. For Shedeur Sanders, who is by no way, I'll just ask you this, and Hardy, you asked the question too. Shedeur Sanders is by no way, shape, or form a guarantee.
No.
Like he's like any other quarterback prospect.
This is supposed to be a weak draft,
yes.
And that specifically relates to the quarterbacks that are available.
But that's part of the point I'm making. Shedeur Sanders is by no means a guarantee. This isn't Peyton Manning. This isn't Andrew Luck. I don't even think it's not John Elway. Let's use those three. Those three were going to be generational quarterbacks. Because there were even little questions about Caleb Williams, and Trevor Lawrence doesn't add up to those. But let's say those three guys. Those three guys, and Peyton Manning wasn't a unanimous number one pick. Some people said that they should have taken Ryan Leaf. But this is like a kid who's you would be stretching taking number one overall.
Sure. The fact that you're not sure at this point in the season speaks to the fact that he's not one of those guys.
And so I don't think there's an NFL owner that would go, let's give a guy like Deion Sanders, who's got a past that is not without its faults. Let's give him the team so we can get his kid. No. And I don't think Vegas would do it because in the NFL, you don't have to sell tickets. Like Vegas doesn't have to sell tickets. That's a circus act. Colorado took a chance because Colorado's like, no one's coming to our games.
Colorado's
at one point,
been bad a long time.
Exactly. And we had a history with Mike McCarthy, who's weirdo.
Yeah.
That when we were good, asked Ted Johnson about, he was on those teams.
The conversation kind of begins and ends with, take his son out of the equation. Would you hire Deion Sanders to be the head coach of your football team?
No.
In the NFL?
No. And so I just don't think Vegas would. But I hope they do.
Yeah.
I mean, I really hope they do. It wouldn't be as fun as Dallas. Because the idea that Deion would turn that down is I wouldn't turn it down. This is the anti-Bronny James. This is not forcing your kid into a situation. If I was Deion Sanders and a team said, I'll draft your kid, do you want to coach? I'd absolutely coach my kid in the pros if he wanted me to. Oh, absolutely. And I wouldn't fault Dion for that at all. But the organization, hachi-machi. And when that goes sideways and he's a rookie quarterback, you see Caleb Williams struggle at times. You see Drake May struggle at times. Jaden Daniels has been really good. But rookie quarterback, you've seen Bo Nix struggle at times, and then he's become pretty good too. But, when Shedeur Sanders is struggling and the team's not winning, like if he goes to the Giants, they're not going to start winning right away. Oh, boy.
I need this to happen. I do. I need this to happen so bad.
So fun. And I don't hate any of those guys. This isn't like a grudge thing. This is just media circus. Dion with the media.
Oh,
there's guys he kicks out of like Colorado stuff because he doesn't like what they write.
So I'm not answering your questions.
I'm not going to answer your questions. It's just
try that in New York. Oh, that'd be great.
All right. Let's do the pucks and paddles thing next and then do the TV thing at 8.
Okay.
Can we, if you wouldn't mind?
No.
All right. I don't. What do you want me to call you? What's your name? Is it really Is that your name, or is this a something you call yourself?
That's what I call myself.
All right, I don't want to talk to you then.
Oh,
Fred. You can't give yourself a nickname. Let us give you the nickname.
That's true.
Maybe someone did give him the nickname.
Yeah, but I don't know the guy. If you come in with credentials like the fellow that with Robbie that does all the the stuff, if you come in with your creds.
Yeah.
Aaron the King Wizard.
Because I thought I was going to be in a situation that was someone from like a foreign land that had an unusual name.
What did he want to talk about?
Give Dion a chance. I mean, it's not a phone call I had to take. I mean, Scott from Rentham's on. Do you want me to take that?
Yes.
Right now?
Oh, absolutely. I want to take Scott from Rentham. Sure. He might want to hear a song. You don't know.
Don't do it.
Don't do it?
I'm just trying to get a vote on the other side. Now it's 2 against 2. So now it really is a coin flip.
Beaten.
Take him or don't take him.
Scott and Rentham. Yes or no? He said yes.
Thumbs
All
up from
right.
Beaton.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, good job, Ryan. Did you guys get lunch today? Is that what I heard?
Are we getting lunch?
Yeah, you were talking to George Glass guy. Hardy said, let's get some lunch.
Oh, Fred's going to buy lunch because he's got a $200 value George Brett rookie card.
Oh, this is making fun of us for being nerds type of thing. That's what this is.
No, not at all.
That's what it sounds like.
Wonk. You didn't.
Wonk?
Wonk, the music thing's past, dude. All right? That's over. All right, that's all I got. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
I think he really wanted to know if we were getting lunch today, if he would have something to eat when he got here.
I thought he was going to do
that
something
tracks.
else.
Yeah.
All right, because he said on text yesterday he was going to do something else.
I know.
He said he's not going to do the music thing that fast. All right, very good. We'll be back. We had cuts for a cause yesterday. We'll give you a quick review of that. Plus, we got some more stuff on the way, including Dave Richard and Phil Perry.
Oh, in the sports industry, that's what you say.
Got your talking head right here, buddy.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Half toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Yesterday was Pucks and Paddles, the big event we do with the Boston Bruins to help with the Special Olympics. And the Fist Bump Kid was there, and these social media stars that are also Special Olympians were there. It was very exciting. And what was even more exciting is I got there, I saw Hardy and Wallach, I saw Ryan Beaton. And I brought my son and his friend, and I didn't have to do anything at all. The guy I played that bid on me in the auction was really cool. He owns these restaurants in Central Mass. In fact, I'll give him a plug tomorrow. But he didn't ask me to, and it wouldn't be anything like he did it to get a plug. He just gave me a gift card to one of his restaurants. Some people handed me, 3 people handed me different Fred Toucher trading cards.
Yes.
And my son thought this was like the greatest thing in the world. Unironically, my 16-year-old son and his friend, they're both athletes. They were like, Jesus Christ, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, wow, I can't believe these guys. So thank you. If you're someone who gave me one of those trading cards, thank you very much. Everyone was very, very big fans of the show. It was fantastic. The guy I played with, I didn't want him to leave. We played, we lost in the first round, whatever. And then we were sitting there talking. Occasionally my son's friend wanted his picture taken with McAvoy, Pasternak. And I said, hey, Pasternak, you belong to Woodland. And he goes, yeah. And I go, yeah, I do too. I've played with you. And he's like, And I'm like, all right, will you take a picture with my kid and his friend? And he's like, yeah. And so they take a picture. He signed something for my son's friend. And I'm like, yeah. So when did you join Woodland? And he's like, a year ago. I'm like, nice talk. And then they take their picture with McAvoy. And then Brad Marchand, who has met my son 30, 40 times, is always great. Brad's really like a good guy. And they just basically talked about his son's played hockey in high school, so they basically just talked about high school sports. Oh. But you, Hardy, Hardy is funny. I know Hardy now pretty well, and I think everyone else does too. Go ahead. What happened?
Well, I don't know what's so funny. I played for a second year with a guy named Rick Bishop.
Very good, Rick.
Who got there very early to practice.
Yeah.
Rick asked me a couple of days ago if I could show up at noon and meet him and his son Jack at Game On so we could practice.
Yeah, so you got there at 11:30.
So I got there. Well, I got there a little after 11, and no, I was unable to get there early yesterday.
Well, that's shocking. You should have gotten there. Really, you owed it to the guy.
But we
spent all that money, Hardy.
But the fact is.
Yeah, right.
His son Jack, very good table tennis player. I like to call it table tennis as opposed to ping pong.
Well, it shows that you know how to play.
Right. And we did practice a little bit. And then Rick and I, went last year. We won one round, and then we lost in the second round. We both thought, we could do better than that. And, that's what we set out to do yesterday.
Okay, and so you win the first round. That I know.
Yes, I think we beat Kastelik and whoever had bid on Kastelik.
Ask me what Bruin player beat me and my teammate.
Who?
I couldn't tell you.
See, I could tell you.
I
had a good view.
Who?
You lost to Corpusalo.
No.
And that's who Hardy beat in the second round.
I thought he lost to Zadarov.
No, I think it was Corpusalo.
I can't believe I didn't recognize
Corpusalo, and you lost to Zadarov.
All right, so what round did you get to, basically? Who cares? But the point is I have no idea who I played.
We made the Elite Eight. We made it onto the main stage. So we won the first 2 rounds, beat Korpisalo in the second round.
Yes. Who
And
beat Fred in the first round.
okay, all right, whatever. And then Zadorov, who's up there playing with this young woman who I'm convinced is like some kind of collegiate tennis player.
She's good looking.
And she was very good table tennis player. And Zadorov, like most of the either European or I guess is he technically European? Is that
Sure.
part of Russia considered Europe?
Very good, yes.
Whatever. I don't know. They can all play.
Okay. Yeah, well, all the Bruins can play, yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
play, all of them play all the time.
They play pretty well. And I screwed up. I screwed up the final 2 points, and I feel responsible for losing the game that Rick and I were playing against Zadorov in his party.
This is not for the he's not doing this for the benefit of the listeners. So I'm standing with my son and his friend. I got him food, so we're standing by the bar, and Hardy comes up and he's legit pissed. and who was I with? I was with my kid and his friend and someone else, and Hardy comes up and he's pissed, and he's like, Jesus Christ, and I'm like, what? And he goes, yep. We lost, and I go, what? Your ping pong thing when? He goes, we just lost.
We just lost on the main stage.
On the main stage. And I go, oh, okay. And he goes, and it was my fault.
Yes. I had almost verbatim the same conversation with him about 5 minutes
and I said, Hardy doesn't like these things. He does not suffer losses either if you're debating him, not even debating him, if you're
that's not true.
If you have any kind of factual disagreement, he will be on that Google. He doesn't care. He'll bring up that he was right 10 minutes later.
I've never seen that before.
And he
That's
did not and he just did. And my son and his friend were like, why does he care?
Okay.
And I'm like, because he does.
Okay.
Deeply.
I'll work on that personally. But when it comes to table tennis, or important things, cornhole,
right,
can jam, these are the things I'm not going to change. I want to win when I play them.
But that's why you like golf, and I don't.
Yeah, I may go into it saying, let's just have fun. And about 14 seconds in, I realize, no, I want to win.
Yeah, when we were playing, because my guy was like, I don't care if we win or not. But I screwed up like a couple serves. We lost like 11-7, and I faulted on 2 serves. I think you should get 2 serves, by the way. I'd like tennis, but I guess that's not the rules. And but we played okay. My guy didn't care. But I want to say this. Thank you to the Bruins. Who was hosting that thing? I don't know. I didn't have to do anything.
So
it ran ahead of schedule. Like Kelly Anderson, by the way. Tremendous job.
Always.
As John and I had used to host Cuts for a Cause where everyone would get their head shaved. And then, like, someone would say they didn't want to get their head shaved, and then a guy would go, I'll do it at $10,000, and he'd go up, and what are you gonna do? Say no? Like the guy's offering, like it was like this anarchy of bidding in things, and so John and I hosted one alone, and then obviously the show used to host it, and it would just take forever, and we had to do so much. Hardy and I didn't even know to get into the picture.
Yeah.
At the end of it, when they take the picture with the check, and I go to Bob Sweeney, who's the head of the Bruins charities, and I'm not sure likes me. And I said, hey, should we have been in that picture? He goes, probably. And I go, all right, Bobby.
I believe
all right, Bobby boy.
So I believe the host was Michaela Johnson, who was the in-arena host.
Okay, well, she did a fantastic job.
Fantastic.
And I asked her on stage, because I walked on stage, which wasn't easy to get to because I was stopped 100 times because people were like, why are you here? And which I like. And I went to the host and I said, hey, should I get in this picture? And she goes, I was told it was only for players. And I went, oh, okay. Because usually I would get in trouble after the affair from the Bruins because they would think that I did a bad job.
That only happened once.
She complained more than once. I didn't see her yesterday, but that woman complained more than once.
I didn't either.
But whatever. I was drinking and stuff. I still don't contend I ever did anything wrong at one of those things, but fine. And I would.
That one time, no. The one time I specifically was called in to testify.
No.
You remember, I was called in to testify that year.
You can be honest. Do you think I ever did anything at a Cuts for a Cause? No, neither do I. I never got loaded at a Cuts for a Cause, ever.
This is going to sound bad, but I've seen you worse than that.
Oh, sure.
By a
It
long
doesn't,
shot.
doesn't sound bad. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Been 1,000 times worse than that. Oh, I've been wasted at events, especially when we first started. Hachi Manchi.
You want to know how much was raised? The
Yes,
amazing
please.
Kelly Anderson passed it along, $110,000.
But there you go.
Broke the $100,000
I mean,
mark with
I don't
the
know how
Sears.
much Hardy and I had to do with it, but Kelly and the station certainly had a lot to do with it. Yeah. And so thank you, honestly, to the Boston Bruins Foundation. Thank you to the Special Olympics for everything. And thank you for everyone who bid and played and came.
And thank you to Rick and his son Jack, and I mean the guy that you scared away, Fred, the guy that you wanted to keep hanging out with, who eventually said,
"All right, man, I gotta let you go."
Yeah, he had to go to work. Rick has a gun range, the Granite State Indoor range, and I'm going to go up and maybe squeeze off a few rounds to let out my frustrations.
How much do you have
and then
to
we're
do
gonna
for
run
this
it,
guy?
and then we're going to run it back next year.
He
What?
played golf with the guy last year. He gave
Yeah.
the guy his phone number. Like,
Yeah.
Now he's plugging his business. How much do you have to do for
You
this guy?
said you were going to give your guy a plug, but you didn't. You didn't talk with him long
I
enough
just
to learn
don't
the
know
name
why
of
you
his
feel.
restaurant.
I don't know. Well, I'm sure I don't even know if he told me. The guy was really cool. Like, he was cool enough, like, not even to tell me. I don't know what that is.
Just sharpening pencils in here, waiting to get into the break.
No, I know. We're running really late. Okay, there you go. That's not my fault. Don't blame me. I was going to end with the $110,000.
That's why we're doing the pencil sharp.
Thank you for doing it to Hardy, because it's only been done to me so far.
12, that's awesome.
Thank you. We're so late. I'm sorry, Rick. That was not my intention, but we were plugging the charity. So thank you to everyone. We'll be right back.
There's a lot of guys that are underperforming right now. As a staff, we're going to pull it out of them. I'm confident we are, but it's going to take some work. It's not going to happen overnight.
It'll be Sacco's first game as a head coach in the NHL in 11 years. As for the Patriots, they'll be in South Florida this Sunday to play Miami. They were missing Christian Barmore, Vidarian Lowe, and Dietrich Wise, among others, at practice yesterday. Starting left guard Cole Strange out on the field for the first time this season after patella tendon surgery during the winter. He apparently is going to work at both guard and center. Celtics' next game isn't until tomorrow night when they play the Washington Wizards in D.C. Today, though, they meet with President Joe Biden at the White House. And in baseball news, the Cy Young Awards were handed out last night. And while Tarek Skubal was the unanimous winner in the American League from Detroit, former Red Sox lefty and current Atlanta pitcher Chris Sale, the winner for the first time in his career in the National League. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey. Enjoy the game with the original triple distilled, triple blended, and triple cask matured Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey. Because when it's game time, it's Tully time. Please drink responsibly. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
When sports news breaks in Boston.
Officially from the Boston Bruins.
It breaks here.
Boston Bruins general manager Don Sweeney announced today, November 19th, the team has relieved Jim Montgomery of his duties as head coach.
For the latest updates.
Associate coach Joe Sacco will assume interim head coaching duties.
And the analysis.
To me, this isn't enough. I think they got to shake up the locker room.
Stay right here.
We'll see how this goes.
Boston's home for breaking sports news. 98.5 The Sports Hub. What's the best way to listen to Toucher and Hardy?
Well, you're going to have to spend $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Real quick, this was a kind of an interesting conversation. If you want to call in, this is pretty interesting, I think. 617-779-0985. We're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You guys tell me if this is going to move on really quick. If not, just around the room, I want your opinion on this, and we're on YouTube. You can, we were talking about playing at pucks and paddles and cuts for calls and all the old stuff. And thank you again, Special Olympics Kelly Anderson from the station and everyone with the Bruins and the Bruins Foundation. It was a very smooth, great event. It was the best one we've had. It really was. It was the best one we had. And I think part of that, honestly, was because I wasn't one of the MCs. It moved so fast. It was so well organized. And Kelly and the Bruins, they all did a great job. $110,000, thank you. I mean, I had very little to do with it. That's their achievement more than me. And Hardy's more achievement more than me, too. And even Wallach, maybe. Probably not. So anyway, Wallach was talking about, back in the day, he was standing against Char, and he's like, can you imagine, fighting that guy? And then I told the story I've told on the air before. Me and Haggerty, we were out at the old practice rink, and Char from 10 feet away hit a slap shot against the glass, and it scared the hell out of us. And then he did it again, and I could see it coming. And I was telling Hardy, if you gave me two choices, one was I could grab Char's jersey and stand there, and we were both on skates. I can't skate, and we were both on skates. And you let him throw one punch without a glove, one punch overhead on me, I'd much rather have him do that to me than be like they are in the playoffs, 5 feet away from the guy. He takes a full-on slap shot. I'm in full hockey pads, not goalie. Goalie pads, I'd rather be in goalie pads. But 5 feet away from him in hockey pads and have to block that shot. I'd much, much, much rather have him hit me.
I think
that's a no-brainer, right?
I think I would, even in goalie pads, rather square up with him, try and grab on, and let him get one punch on me than I would rather take a slap shot from one of those guys.
This is a question? Of course I'd rather have him hit me in the face.
Yeah.
My God.
Hockey's a dangerous...
That is one of the hardest slap shots in the history of the league.
But if you put that... anyone's slap shot. I told you, David Backus was at a practice. No one knows why this was happening, but I swear to God I saw it. And Backus was standing in front of the goal, and there was a guy, not a player, but a guy from the Bruins, coach or whatever, taking slap shots, and he was tipping them. And I'm like, and I said, and no one, and everyone in hockey goes, that's not a drill. But I swear to God, I saw it. I wasn't hallucinating. I was at the practice rink. It was after we had done interviews, and he was the only one there. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that either. I don't like playing. If my son goes, hey, get down in the catching stands, I don't like that.
No, you got to get down and then crouch. No, thank you.
No, because he'll throw like a slider. The fastball, whatever. I don't like it, but whatever.
At least you can track
But
it
then
well.
he won't tell me he's throwing a slider, and that thing goes, and I'll stand up and go, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Let alone a professional hockey player. If you felt the puck, thing weighs 25 pounds.
Remember Chara, and it's frozen. Remember Chara got hurt during the 2019 Stanley Cup Finals. Wasn't that a shot that got tipped and ramped up and hit him in the face?
Yeah, it broke his jaw.
Yeah,
I'd much rather try
didn't
grapple with him, as pointless as that might sound.
Lindholm just got hurt blocking a shot with his leg. It hit like in a weird spot.
Hampus Lindholm out
above
weeks.
the knee or something. Yeah.
Out weeks after getting hit in the knee with a shot.
No.
Yes.
And I don't want to square up with that. Hell, when I met Corpusalo yesterday, I'm like, here's a goalie that I want nothing to do with. And all these guys can take care of themselves. Having said that, I'd rather take a punch from any of them than face one of their slap shots.
And I can assure you of this. They are say what you will about the quality of the team or anything else, they are a much, 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 much larger team than they've ever been.
Oh, yeah.
They
easily.
Big group.
There was groups when they were really good. Well, first of all, we all thought Torrey Krug was an intern.
Yes.
At one of the Cuts for a Cause.
Wearing Vans. He just showed up on stage without socks.
He had just gotten called up from Providence, or I don't even know if it was Providence, but probably.
Yeah.
He was fresh out of Michigan State. He didn't have any money. He was dressed like an intern, and he was sitting on stage, and he looked like he was 14 years old and was the size of a 14-year-old. He looked like a little kid. Mm-hmm. I used to be bigger, not bigger, but taller than anyone. The really impressive guys were Chara and Lucic, and that was pretty much it. Oh, and McQuaid. But everyone else just seemed like a guy. Now
they're all big.
Now they're all giant, except for Marchand.
All right, Fred, I do want to get to this. We have a very important story to get to here from Jaleel White from Family Matters.
He was on with DA the other day.
Was he really?
Yeah, because I follow DA on Instagram. I like DA a lot for as much. The character I'm doing is obviously not really him.
Yeah. Was he talking about this recent article in the U.S. Sun that reports that Jaleel White, who played Steve Urkel from 89 to 98, was told he had to change his signature uniform of suspenders and tight jeans because the bulge was becoming too much for TV.
They did talk about that, and he said, it's true, I have a giant hog. He said, it's so big that no pants can contain me. No, but Jaleel White did say, he said it's not true, but they did tell me to stop wearing jeans, this particular pair of jeans, because when he didn't have to worry about that when he turned to Stefan.
Right.
Because I think you're limiting Jaleel White saying he played Urkel, because he did far more than that. He played Asian karate Urkel, which would go really well nowadays.
Yeah, that would play.
Because he came out in a, what do you call the karate outfit?
The gi?
He came out in a gi and Bruce Lee hair, and started going talking like
Yeah, I know.
like Hop Sing kind of stuff. And so that would not go so well. There was the time, I believe the last episode of Family Matters, they go to space.
Yes.
It's
well,
Urkel.
I'm glad you brought it up. We have an early Urkel here that Adam 12 has found for us, and this is what he sounded like in the beginning of the show.
He was supposed to be a one-off character, but he went over so well. It was supposed to be like a family, black family sitcom, like about a working-class black family. It was supposed to be a little bit of realism to it, but a Friday night sitcom. And then they went to Jaleel White and went, oh, everyone likes him. Let's turn this into a mockery of everything.
Sure. So that was a 9-year-old Jaleel White and making what was supposed to be a cameo as Urkel on that episode. Fast forward 12, 13 years. Here he is, I believe, at the age of 22.
Yes,
12?
yeah, he was. I believe he's 12 at the beginning, and now he's or 13, and now he's 22.
Final episode, returns from space, and I believe this is a romantic scene.
Oh, gosh. You get more beautiful every time I see you. Do I get a
Sounds
welcome
almost
home
like
kiss?
a eunuch.
Well, on one condition. Well, what's that? That you'll never go into outer space again. Only when we kiss, Larly. Only when we kiss.
And then
almost
the
sounds like
front
they're-
of his pants soaked. Because he'd always wanted her.
Right.
And now they were finally kissing. Now, Stefan had kissed her many times.
That was a very special episode of Family Matters.
But you know how
premature.
You know how great Laura was. You know how great Laura was. She went, "It's okay, Steve. We have our whole lives."
Right.
And he went, "Meh." And then she went, "It's fine.
It's fine. I'll give you 10 minutes." So,
and he said, "I'm good right now."
So this sent us down the road of trying to think of other television shows where the kids aged uncomfortably.
Okay.
Before our eyes.
Well, there's the obvious. Do you want me to guess? Or
Steve Urkel is the obvious.
This is your wheelhouse, man. You watch more than other.
How is this game being played? You tell me.
It's not even a game. We just have some examples.
Okay, here we go.
So what do you think? Are you thinking of Opie from the Andy Griffith Show?
I think Ron Howard ended up being quite a strapping young man. I mean, he ended up on Happy Days. He wasn't bad looking.
Okay, listen, that's a fine guess, but the
No, I'm not thinking him.
Okay, who are you thinking of?
Oh, certainly the blonde from Family Ties was I mean, she aged very, very poorly.
Okay, well,
Tina Yothers?
Tina Yothers.
You're talking about a different type of.
Well, this is more about
the kids on Modern
child
Family.
actors that
There we go. There's a good one.
I was going.
Modern Family.
Jonathan
kids,
Taylor, yeah.
Well, no, the kids on Modern
You're talking
Family.
about somebody who just got ugly.
Yeah, she got ugly. The kids on Modern Family became terrible actors. Like when they be like. The baby that the gay couple had.
Oh, God. Well,
she just, and it's not her fault, but she was cast as a baby, and then she couldn't act when it got older.
Right, but at least she didn't have like the voice change thing happen that happened to Manny and to Luke.
Yes.
Because as little kids, Manny and Luke were adorable.
Manny, not a great actor. And neither was Luke, for that matter, which is unfair to them because they started so young.
Right.
They were no Urkels.
As little kids, they were cute.
Yeah, this is from the first episode.
Hola. Hola, hola.
Well, hello there, Haley.
Take it down a notch, Jethro. So, you guys ready for some
That was
fun?
Manny.
And
Give
you
it
know
a sec.
who's-
We'll get into the other guy.
You
here.
heard Sophia Vergara.
I love you, Grandpa, and I'm never going to forget you.
It's very good. You heard Sophia Vergara, and what you heard is Hardy changing the channel.
Yeah, she's not my type.
But Hardy remembers vividly the time that the blonde
Julie Bowen,
there was a flash of side boob when she was caught in
Yes.
the act.
The kids walked in on them when they were having marital relations.
Uh-huh.
That was a nice scene.
Okay.
Yeah, those kids didn't age well. You were saying that the actor who plays Manny.
I hear it.
Nobody has to leave. I can spend one evening with the people I love and a shifty lecher who sleeps in a shower cap filled with mayonnaise.
Not a good actor. What I think is a more interesting thing is the child actors that became adults, and it was obvious that they no longer had a place on the show, like Who's the Boss, where the kid, he didn't grow up to be ugly, but the kid that was the son of Judith Light became this kid who was basically an extra. They just were like, all right, you've already been on the show. There's never going to be a storyline that's written around you. You're kind of just going to sit there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where kids started on shows. The daughter on Mr. Belvedere. Now, we had a lot of the younger kid and a lot of the older brother.
Do you have all those Mr. Belvedere clips ready?
I don't have those ready, but I do remember that one time they had to shut down production on Mr. Belvedere for like 3 days because the actor who played him, he sat on his testicles by accident.
Yeah, he did sit on his balls, and there was the episode, of course, the AIDS episode, but there was also the episode where he calls the immigration services on Mr. Belvedere, and they actually show up.
That really
happened. He calls immigration on Mr. Belvedere because Mr. Belvedere tells on him to his parents. Bob Uecker gets pissed off. By the way, Bob Uecker got a sitcom. Mm-hmm. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Based on his appearances on The Tonight Show.
Yes.
All right, there's no more time for this.
No.
That's okay. Dave Richard is going to be coming on.
Yeah, Dave Richard is going to be coming on. What was the thing? That the kids whose voice changed?
Yeah.
All right. Nothing for me to guess. You should have gone kids who got ugly. That's what you should have done.
That would have been a kinder thing to do because it's not fun to make fun of kids for going through puberty. But if you want to lean into the Tina Yothers,
Tina Yothers was an adult at the end of that.
Yeah.
Tina Yothers was
You're
over
right.
18 at the end of that.
You know, our instincts were all off on this one, 12. Next time,
shucks,
pick on people whose looks do not please Fred as they grow older.
Does anyone? You don't think they wrote Tina Yothers off the show, and part of it was because she was aging poorly?
Forgive me if I'm wrong, but didn't she have substance abuse problems? I think it had more to do with that than anything else.
No.
You're
You're thinking of the eating disorder of the girl from Growing Pains, who was, I would argue, too attractive to play a nerd, and was offensive to nerds because she was too attractive. Which happens a lot of times on shows. You know why? And It's Always Sunny, the guy who played Mac, got fat for a season, is he was watching Big Bang Theory, and he said, well, if these guys are such dorks, they all have, except for one, two of these guys have stunning girlfriends. Like, why aren't people cast as they really are? So he deliberately got fat, but then he got all jacked up again, so who cares? All right, listen, Dave Richard is going to join us. And we will talk to him in just a moment.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the NBA is back in FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Wants you to catch all the action. And right now, FanDuel is... Kutcher and Hardy. Dave Richard, everyone loves. He's the fantasy football guru at CBS Sports. There are 3 ways to link up with Dave Richard and his fantasy football advice on X at Dave Richard. Live on YouTube every morning. Search for Fantasy Football Today and 3 times a week on Fantasy Football Today on CBS Sports Network. Check local listings. Dave joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Hi, Dave.
Fred, give us the update.
I lost last week. My team performed fairly well. I just I didn't have Mayfield because obviously he wasn't playing. I took a shot at Russell Wilson. There was really no one available. So and he obviously was bad.
Yeah.
So that was what happened to me. But I had Nakua, who had a big day. Mixon's a stud, huh? He's
like the number 1 running back in fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a whole situation. But this is you said this a couple of weeks ago or last week, and I've been reading it since. We're entering bye week hell. They're calling it.
Bye NATO is what I've termed it.
Well, that's better than bye week hell. It's much more creative.
Fewer syllables.
And absolutely. Go ahead. So why is it this? Who's going on bye, and what are people to do?
Okay, well, first of all, don't panic, whatever it is that you do, because there are so many teams on bye, and there's 6 of them on bye. It's the Falcons, the Bengals, the Saints, the Bills, the Jaguars, and the Jets. Oh, what are you going to do without all your Jaguars and Jets, everybody? Wow, what a mess. Look, but the problem is that everybody kind of gets pushed up, and now when you look at your fantasy lineup, first of all, you're just hoping that you've got enough spots or enough players to fill the spots in your lineup. And if you don't, you might have to make some tough decisions. Some pointers. Number 1, see if you can exhaust every avenue. See if you can still make a trade in your league. If you can, it's not a bad idea to try and trade for somebody on the cheap. One of the running backs that I really like, who you can trade for at a discount right now, is Bucky Irving of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he's actually going to get some good run, and I love his schedule the rest of the way. The second thing you can do is really look closely at the waiver wire. Just double check to make sure that there isn't somebody there who shouldn't be there. We can get into some of those names as well. But the last thing you want to do is, if you've got to make a tough ad drop, you've got to drop a player that you really don't want to let go of, do it on Saturday, because that way he goes through waivers. No one can pick him up until next week, and that gives you a fighting chance to get that player back. Don't do it with a stud. Don't drop Joe Mixon, Fred. Okay, I know that
I don't have anyone on bye this week. My buys have already happened.
Right. That's perfect. So you don't have to. But the point is, if you've got a stud and you're really running out of roster spots, don't drop the stud. That goes without saying. You really want to drop like the least desirable player. Could be a backup running back, could be a second quarterback, could be a second DST. I wouldn't hesitate to drop those guys, but I would hesitate to do it now. I would rather wait until Saturday to get that done.
Let me ask you this. If you are in a position where you are for sure making the playoffs, and you might even have some roster spots open, are there players that – this is hard. This is a hard question, Dave. Mm-hmm. Are there players that might not even be doing anything this week or next week, but could be factors, guys coming off injury that might be available, guys that are you think in the second half of the season might get a little bit more run? Anyone that you should look at to just take a flyer on, because you don't need to start the guy, just a guy to take a flyer on.
Sure. So normally these are running backs, and these are guys that we call lottery tickets. They're backup running backs. They might be getting in the neighborhood of 5 touches per game now, but if something were to happen to the starter in front of them, they would be the starter for their teams, and they would theoretically get 15-plus touches and be that type of player that can help you win your league. I'll give you some names. Cam Akers in Minnesota is the backup to Aaron Jones. He's already been playing the past few weeks for the Vikings because Aaron Jones just hasn't looked right. I believe he's playing through injury. He's starting to wear down. The Vikings are going to make the playoffs. They're going to need Aaron Jones healthy for that. We could see Cam Akers getting a lot of touches in the next 6 weeks or so. Blake Corum for the Rams. Jalen Wright for the Dolphins. I hesitate to say Devin Singletary, but maybe Devin Singletary. Trey Benson is a great one. He's with Arizona. He's behind James Conner. James Conner's 30 years old. He's always prone to missing some games. But those are the types of running backs that you go after. As far as wide receivers, I mean, I could give you a laundry list of why. I could give you Kendrick Bourne as a name who's out there in a ton of leagues, and maybe Bourne ends up being the top target getter among wide receivers in New England. I just don't know if I would pin my fantasy championship hopes to him. But maybe you'll find some receivers that are out there in the majority of leagues who I don't mind speculating on are Adam Thielen as a volume-based play. I wouldn't do that in a half PPR league. Devon Vele in Denver has been playing a lot as the number 2 receiver for the Broncos. Looks like their passing offense is good. I still think Ricky Pearsall is a talented wide receiver for the 49ers. He just hasn't had a chance to play or a chance to get up huge numbers on a week-to-week basis. He certainly had the chance to play. And then I would double-check the waiver wire for these tight ends, Will Dissly and Jonnu Smith. And those guys might even be able to act as flexes for you in PPR leagues. They've been playing a lot lately. They've been getting a lot of targets lately, and they've been putting up good fantasy points, and they're with solid quarterbacks. So those are the types of players that you might be able to find on your waiver wire who can help you out down the stretch.
Speaking of tight ends, Kittle says he's going to play Sunday against the Packers. Does that factor in anything you're going to do?
I'm going to start him. He's absolutely going to be in my lineups. And the 49ers passing game, I feel like they're kind of under siege right now. Last week wasn't the best week for Brock Purdy. I think that's putting it mildly, but I think Kittle can help them right the ship. The guy that I'm really worried about for the Niners is Deebo Samuel, who just really hasn't looked like himself ever since he went to the hospital for pneumonia and he's had an oblique injury. Just hasn't looked like the main guy, and he hasn't been targeted like he's the main guy in that offense. It's been Jawan Jennings who's been getting some huge numbers. You want to talk about a waiver wire find. He certainly has filled that role for the 49ers and for fantasy managers. So I wonder if he's the number 1 wide receiver in San Francisco. And Kittle sees an uptick in targets, and Deebo becomes somebody who you don't really want to trust as anything more than a flex play for fantasy purposes.
How are you handling the running back situation in Kansas City?
I intend to start Kareem Hunt with no reservations this week. It's Carolina, and if Pacheco even plays, well, it's going to be on a limited basis. I mean, you don't come back from a broken leg and start running all over the place and handle 15 carries and the stuff that Pacheco was doing before the injury. The Chiefs, they're like a fantasy manager with an undefeated team. They're definitely looking toward the playoffs. They're trying to still fight for the number 1 seed in the AFC. If they get it, they get the week off, and then they've got home field advantage, and that's when they really should focus on trying to unleash Isaiah Pacheco and put the inefficient Kareem Hunt on the sideline. But this week, they're taking on the Panthers. Panthers' defense is the worst one in the National Football League. I would expect Kareem Hunt to have a very good game. Maybe he loses a couple of touches to Pacheco, but I also wouldn't be surprised in the least if Pacheco doesn't even play in the game, and we just see Kareem Hunt with 20 touches, 100 total yards, and a touchdown.
All right, you were good for talking me off the ledge a couple of weeks ago, Dave, when I thought there weren't that many good games on the slate. It's going to be tough to match what we got last weekend. So just in terms of watching outside of fantasy, what are the games to be looking at this weekend?
Yeah, it's definitely not the same type of schedule as it was last week. I think it'll be interesting to see the 49ers and the Packers go head-to-head. I kind of think that the 49ers are gonna struggle. Packers look good on both sides of the ball last week. If Jordan Love doesn't throw a bonehead interception, that game's nowhere near as close as it ends up being. Eagles and Rams. I love that the Rams bounced back last week. I'm sorry that it happened against the Patriots, but they got their offensive line working. They beat man coverage, and Matthew Stafford had to turn back the clock game. I wonder if he's going to be hard-pressed to do it again this week, but I'm going to enjoy watching it because Philadelphia's defense has really played well. Philadelphia on both sides of the ball really has played well since their bye week. Here's a low-key game to keep an eye on. It's the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Cardinals 6-4. Seahawks are 5-5. Seattle went to San Francisco, won in the fourth quarter. That was exciting. I think that's going to be a really close game and a tough game for both teams. It's kind of a last stand game. I feel like it's a last stand game for Seattle and that a prove-it game for Arizona. No one's really buying into the Cardinals. And then, of course, the Monday night game, Ravens-Chargers, Harbaugh versus Harbaugh, should be a ton of fun with Lamar Jackson going up against Justin Herbert. Can Lamar bounce back against the Chargers, and will the Chargers have Khalil Mack rushing him? If the Chargers pass rush is healthy, it could be another tough game for Lamar.
All right. What are you thinking about the Patriots? How is Drake May comparing to the other? You watch all the games. How is Drake May comparing to the other rookie quarterbacks in the NFL?
He's at worst third best, behind Nix and Daniels, and I don't even know if that's the order. It could be Daniels and Nix still, but Daniels, I think he's been playing hurt, and I think that's impacted how he's been playing. And Bo Nix has really ascended. The offense that he's in, it's really one of those. It's almost like the Brock Purdy thing. Remember, for years everybody was like, Brock Purdy's not that good. It's the 49ers scheme. Well, he runs the scheme well, and that's why Purdy is good for the Niners. And Bo Nix runs the scheme in Denver really, really well. So he's good for what they're doing. But Drake May is going to do the exact same thing for the Patriots. In fact, he has been doing it for the Patriots. I think once that offensive line gets better and once the defense gets addressed, we could really see. And obviously he needs another wide receiver. No offense, Kendrick Bourne. No offense, Bob Douglas. He needs another guy. Once they put all that together, and that could happen in one offseason, we could see Drake May really take off and be an outstanding fantasy quarterback and an outstanding NFL quarterback. I am very excited and bullish on the future of Drake May.
All right. Yeah, he looks like the real deal. He looks like he's going to be a good quarterback. There's no question about it.
Yes.
All right, Dave. Who's winning the Super Bowl? The Lions? Are they far and away the best team that you're seeing?
Make Hardy happy. Say yes.
Yeah, I'd love to help him out, but I'm not sure yet. They look great against bad teams. I want to see how they play against the better teams in playoff times. Can they win those games in January? They were close to doing it last year. Can they get over the hump this year? The answer is maybe. But I'm still a little nervous about that pass rush, still a little bit nervous about that secondary. I think they can be beat. I think Philadelphia might be the team to beat them, too. So my Super Bowl pick before the season did have Philadelphia in it, so I'm obviously going to be a little bit biased toward that. But I also picked the Texans, and I don't know if they're really going to make it. But a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl, a Chiefs-Lions Super Bowl, I kind of think that's what we're looking at here. I focus on defense, not offense, when it comes to the Super Bowl teams.
Do you think the Cardinals are a good team? You mentioned them a few minutes ago. They're kind of like in a prove it, and they've got a big prove it situation in Seattle. Do you think they're good?
I think they're improving. I don't know if they're at the point where they're one of the best teams in the NFC. Let's just put it that way.
I'm just going down a list of teams that the Lions have beat. How about the Vikings? Are they any good? Because the Lions beat them. I mean, are the Texans any good? Because the Lions beat them.
Because the Lions crushed them too. Sure. No, I totally get it. No, the Lions are better than those teams. There's no doubt, especially offensively. That's how they're winning. That's how they're getting it done, is because they're definitely able to outscore anybody, and Jared Goff is playing. I made the case that Goff should be the league MVP on our podcast because he's just been so efficient. And he had a game with 5 interceptions. Not all of them can be put on him. But I think that Detroit can beat Minnesota in the playoffs. I think they can beat Arizona in the playoffs. I think they could beat Houston in the Super Bowl if it came to that. So they've beaten some good teams. It's the great teams, and there's not many of them that are out there because Detroit's one of the great teams. But I'm not ready to crown their defense yet. And I'm worried that if they get into a game where Jared Goff is pressured and he starts making a few mistakes, can they pull that one out like they did against Houston? I'm not sure if they can if it's against a team like Philadelphia.
Okay, and final question, top 3 coaching candidates as we go into it, where there might be double-digit jobs open.
I'd be surprised if there were double-digit jobs open.
Close to it, I've heard 8, 9.
Yeah, we'll see. That would be something. I don't think Steve Spagnuolo is even going to get a sniff, but he should, because he's so good at coordinating defenses, and I know he's an older guy. I'd love to see him get a chance. I'd love for Ben Johnson to land with a team that he really feels like he could be a leader of. And Aaron Glenn, same team, different coordinator.
Aaron Glenn's going to the Jets.
I would think so, but there's one other candidate out there who's even older than Spags, and that's Bill Belichick, who was on the sideline this year. Wouldn't surprise me if he's a Giant coach next year.
Do you think he'd dress like Shrek if his girlfriend asked him to?
Yes.
I do too.
Absolutely.
Would you describe him as a simp?
No comment.
All right, very good, Dave. That's a yes. Dave Richards, the fantasy. Now you're not going to get that Belichick interview, so much covet.
I got my chance with Belichick years and years ago.
Yeah, that's great. He's a lot of fun. Dave Richards is the fantasy football guru at CBS Sports. Reached out to him on Twitter at Dave Richard. I don't care for the man. You can find him on YouTube every morning, Fantasy Football Today, and 3 times a week on Fantasy Football Today on the CBS Sports Network. Check your local listings. Dave, we always love it. Thank you so much for the knowledge.
Just remember, he's a very good football coach and apparently a very good boyfriend. So that's all that really matters.
There you go.
Yeah, but how good a grandfather? That's what you got to worry about. All right. Thank you, Dave.
Open question. You got it, guys. Good luck in your leagues this week.
All right. Here is Johnny Wallgame.
describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
A lot of food.
Oh my God.
The good food that I had.
Oh.
Super. Super. Super.
Super. Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. Brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And thank you, everyone who listens to Joe Murray's show every night. It's wonderful. It's like a town hall meeting. It's just anyone can call in with anything. He'll talk about anything. Everyone feels like they're his friend.
Oh, yeah.
And we were told that last night.
Caught this in the car on the way home from Pucks and Paddles.
Yeah, so Pucks and Paddles was over. John's in his car. Other people heard it. Here we go.
Pat's in Franklin. Hey, Pat.
Joe, how are you, bud?
How are you?
Hey, so this Celtics thing, they're just going to pick their spots when they want to just dominate. I feel like this is pretty impressive, But I have a question for you about Raising Cane's.
Yeah, let's get over it. Like, hey,
Celtics, blah blah blah.
Yeah, Celtics are all right. Here we go. Raising Cane's. By the way, Raising Cane's is a sensation.
Yes.
My son and his friends take the train to Newbury Street to go to Raising Cane's.
So I was speaking with your son and his friend last night. Wonderful conversation. Delightful young men. But one of their primary concerns was, I keep seeing these Cane's logos all over because they were also, one of the sponsors and people helping out with Pucks and Paddles. Like, is there any Raising Cane's here? I'm starving. I imagine Milo says I'm starving probably 10 times a day. He's a growing boy.
Both.
He's always hungry.
Well, I talked to him for 5 minutes. I heard it twice.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Is there any Raising Cane's here?
Yeah.
Well, they're obsessed with Raising Cane's.
They should be. It's supposed to be very good.
My mom just
But I have a question for you about Raising Cane's.
Right.
Yeah, my mom just called me. That can't be good. All right, here we go.
But I have a question for you about Raising Cane's.
Okay.
Yeah, now Joe's fired up.
All right.
I wasn't even listening.
Get to it. All right.
He's cracking his knuckles.
What do you got for me?
Joe.
Yeah. What do you got?
Joe, can the Northeast, as in, the New England area, only accept chicken fingers for a chicken restaurant and it be dominant? I don't know, man.
Now Joe's on the ropes.
I'm sitting here.
Andy Rooney's called in.
I'm paralyzed in my home for a week with this question. In the Northeast, are we unable to accept any type of poultry food unless it's in the form of a chicken finger?
Now here's
No, man.
Here's where Joe's at. He's like, if I say yes, then all these chicken people are going to be contacting management.
Mm-hmm.
If I say no, now we have Cane's, who is well known as being almost an advocacy group, coming after you. So now Joe's got a decision to make.
Well,
do you think?
It seems to be a pretty dominant thing going right now, right? Everyone loves the hot chicken style. They're all tenders, right?
Well, Cane's is not necessarily hot chicken.
But
Dave's hot chicken is hot chicken.
It's a spicy. It's got a certain.
No, not necessarily. I don't get.
I've only had it once.
Same with me, but it's more the dipping sauce, I believe, is what the kids are into.
All right.
But you know them with their jazz and marijuana cigarettes.
Sure.
I don't know what else is going on. Sure.
But Joe. My wife's from Atlanta.
Okay.
She likes.
Yeah, you know how she is.
Yeah. Joe.
You know Atlanta and chicken fingers, right?
Joe.
Let's just say I'm not some townie. My wife was born in Atlanta, Georgia. Now that's south of here. And you know how they're with them with the chicken fingers.
She likes her chicken flavor.
You would think he was talking about a way to describe anal sex. Like he's like the way he's trying to manufacture this.
I'm trying to say it without saying it. I got to dance around this because I know FCC and all this stuff. But listen, Joe.
He's trying to say that she likes chicken fingers or something.
She likes her chicken flakes.
She likes her. You would think he was about to say something awful.
Favorite, but chicken fingers? I don't. I mean, really? You think so?
I don't know. What do you want? I mean, what do you want it to be?
I want a chicken
breast?
sandwich. I want chicken.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, where are you going to get a chicken sandwich around here?
Right.
I mean,
it's all chicken fingers. Everyone is taking chicken sandwiches off the menu. You can't find them.
I wonder if there's anywhere that sells chicken sandwiches. That's what I want to know. That is a good question.
With fries, but I'm just not going to a restaurant for chicken fingers.
All right, I agree with you. I get it. You don't go to a restaurant for chicken fingers. I get it. But it's Raising Cane's. I go to Raising Cane's to get chicken fingers. I go to Dave's Hot Chicken to get chicken fingers. If I'm going to Capitol Grill, I go for a steak. If I go to an Italian restaurant, I want the bolognese. So, yes, the best thing about knowing a place with chicken fingers is a place that has chicken fingers. Dalton's in Dedham. Hi, Dalton.
Joe, I'm sorry to do. You sound really flustered right there. I'm sorry, brother. Yeah, we'll get it.
Well, I mean, listen, he was brought. I mean, a big question was brought to his attention. I mean, he knew. I mean, of course he's flustered. He's fighting back. He's on the ropes. He's rope-a-doping. He's Ali.
What, is that blood on your shirt, Joe?
I want the bolognese.
It's bolognese.
He's the guy at the blackjack table at 4 a.m.
Dalton's in Dedham. Hi, Dalton.
Joe, I'm sorry to do. You sound really flustered right there. I'm sorry, brother. Yeah, we'll get into chicken right now. Joe, I heard the big new rave is birdies.
Yes.
But dude, I heard, Joe. I mean, hey, I
you
know.
Heard or you had? You heard or you had?
Oh, I've had,
so
Joe.
tell
I've
me.
had. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna tell you. So, Joe, I'm trying to I'm trying to lose some calories. It's coming in the winter season.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, you can get a Cobb salad with the.
I don't want to talk about salad.
He hung up on
chicken.
I've never heard him hang up
All right,
on
we're not
someone
going to do that
before.
all night long.
It was like he said the F word. As soon as he
very offended when you use that word.
And by the way, like all these crazy health nuts with their Cobb salads. I mean, a Cobb salad with ranch dressing probably only 1,200 calories. I mean, that's
12.
That's
you
where
think it's 12.
It might be more.
If that's small.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to lose weight, I mean, that's where you go is to the Cobb salad with the heavy dressing.
You heard or you had?
You heard or you had? Come on, I don't got time.
I don't want to talk about salad.
If everyone,
I want the bolognese.
He sounded like
chicken finger.
I don't want to talk about salad.
I get it.
Chicken finger.
I mean, really? You think so?
Chicken finger. Yes.
Why are there scratches all over you? What's wrong with that girl you with? What does she have?
Chicken fingers.
Oh, she chicken fingers. Big talons on them. All right.
Joe.
The guy's complaint was Raising Cane's only. So people are going to Raising Cane's for chicken tenders. That was his complaint.
Yes, that's correct.
Just as the 50s, there was a big thing about McDonald's with their hamburger sandwiches. People didn't like that.
I thought you were going to say just in the 50s, people were sitting at home worried about McCarthyism. Now they're sitting at home worried about, are we only eating chicken fingers here in the Northeast?
Well,
at long last?
Well, Russia
have you no decency?
Russia used a weapon yesterday that's never been used in the history of mankind. So, I mean, I am concerned about Cane's. All right.
I get it.
All right. Thank you, Joe. All right. When we come back, Phil Perry is scheduled to be here. We will have him and talk about the Patriots in just a moment.
Chicken.
Yesterday, for the first time under interim head coach Joe Sacco, he will lead the team for the first time tonight at home against the Utah Hockey Club. Now that he's made this change, GM Don Sweeney appears to be in the spotlight if it doesn't work. He told the media yesterday this isn't anything new to him.
We're always on notice. You know, the results are in this business that's just what you accept. When you take the job, you know that you're on notice. And when you make recommended changes, they could say no, and you might be the change. So you face that. You make decisions based on your experience level and what you need to do for your hockey club, and that's how I do the job.
Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame of the Bruins in Utah at 6:30, and then the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Patriots held their first practice of the week yesterday in Foxborough with an eye towards a road game against Miami on Sunday. Christian Barmore, Dietrich Wives, and starting left tackle Verdarian Lowe were among the missing. Cole Strange was out there for the first time all season. He's coming back from a patellar tendon injury. He's apparently working at both guard and center. Week 12 of the NFL season begins tonight in Cleveland with the Browns hosting Pittsburgh, and the Celtics will celebrate their NBA championship one final time today at the White House with President Joe Biden. Their next game is on the road against the Washington Wizards tomorrow night. Sports Hub headlines are driven by the Albrecht Auto Group, Zoe's Auto Dealer. Get respect at Albrecht with 7 locations and thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles. Get the right vehicle at the right price now at albrechtauto.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
New England plays here.
Ball down the right side. There's a separation. Touchdown pass. Yes. Perfect dive from Drake May.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Hey, if your alarm clock sounds like this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, The Sports Hub.
Our message to Drake, and we've had multiple conversations about this, is to maintain being a quarterback as long as possible.
Patriots for NBC Sports Boston. He joins us live in studio this morning. Hey, Phil, how are you?
How are you guys?
You were dressed very Hardy-esque today. I like that.
You think so?
Natalie attired.
What is that zipper called?
That's a quarter zip.
Yeah,
quarter zip.
Quarter zip Patagonia.
Are you a big quarter zip guy?
Oh yeah, I like a good quarter zip.
Yeah.
I'm mostly hoodies, but yeah, I enjoy nice.
Hardy and I
zip.
received these Lion hoodies, the very one he's wearing. There could be a day where we're both wearing one because we received them for free.
Yeah, 47 brand, I think.
So yeah, if you are you have to understand that when you're dressing for a morning show, it's essentially pajamas. And second of all, most items that are being worn were given to us, certainly in the mornings. Like when I got divorced, I had to go get adult clothes because I'm like, I got to start going out. Like I had to make a real attempt to get adult clothes.
That's when you bought that hoodie sport coat.
No, the Dickie. Oh, we all love that.
2 women, the last time I went, said, I love that.
Phil, we can agree, is the best dressed man of the 4 of us.
What, today?
No, in general.
I'm not willing to make that statement.
I'm usually wearing hooded sweatshirts and sweatpants.
Oh, no, you're not. You got that. You do wear the plaid shirts.
If I go out, I'll stand by what I wear.
Going into work, yeah.
My point is, let's ask him his opinion on that outfit we were just talking about.
So I have a Hugo Boss jacket, which it's a jacket hoodie combo.
Yes.
And now this, I don't know why this matters, but I will bring it up in fairness to these 2 gentlemen. The hoodie is a Dickie situation. Like it's not a full hoodie; it zips into the jacket.
That's a word I don't know, but keep going.
Okay, so a Dickie is
it's how it sounds.
It's a fake garment sewn into another garment. So like back in the day, if you went to Silverman's at the mall, you could get a V-neck sweater that had a turtleneck underneath, but it was a Dickie. It wasn't a real turtleneck that you're wearing. It was just kind of sewn into it to make it look like you're wearing a turtleneck.
Yeah, that seems useful.
So Phil, it's basically the only thing is you can't tell. The only thing is it actually fits a lot better. The reason they do it is because of the fit. You're not wearing a clumpy hoodie underneath a sport coat. Anyway, they want your thoughts on
that. It sounds great. I can totally understand why women couldn't peel themselves off of you while you were wearing.
Now, I didn't say that, Phil. Unfair. You took it too far.
Sorry.
Gaslighting.
Here it is.
Gaslighting.
Almost swore. Can you see that? That is the sport coat Dickie hoodie. It's like a quarter zip hoodie sewn into the lining of this sports
Review it
coat.
honestly, but
You're
not,
on board with that.
But
Very
don't
handsome.
gaslight.
No, it's very handsome. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Phil.
that's a fine look. What's wrong with that?
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's
a
the
bit
one
odd.
garment I own that gets compliments, and you know why? It's daring. It's daring. John wears button-down shirts out. That's
I
all.
do.
And
I
there's
do.
nothing wrong with
Wore it
that.
yesterday.
But that's
Yes.
not the way that I roll. I look to catch some eyes. I look to be modern.
Oh, you're peacocking.
Exactly.
Yes.
Check the feathers.
Making a
The
statement.
mystery method. I wear floppy hats and eyeliner. All right, so listen. Drake May. You said before we went on the air, you've talked to some coaches around the league about Drake May.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. These last several weeks talking to coaches for these teams that are preparing for Drake May and what they're seeing from him and what they focus on as they get ready for him. And so, if you're the Titans, you're admiring his arm strength as he goes into that game, and you're understanding, okay, we're going to have to actually make sure there are certain instances here where we need to GTFB, get the F back, because he can push it down the field. He's not afraid to. If you're the Bears, you're comparing him to Josh Allen. And that was the name that came back to me talking to some defensive coaches in Chicago. The body type is different for sure. Drake May's 6'4", 225. I think Josh Allen is 6'4", 6'5", 240, 245, something like that.
It's not as big. Look, he's not going to put his shoulder down like Allen did in that game and knock someone over.
But the style of play is what they were referencing is similar. The way they scramble, the way they try to finish those runs, the way they're willing to test any throw on the field. And so they were really worried about him. What was interesting about the Rams and the opinions that I got back from the Rams on Drake May was they were already noticing some of the intangible stuff that Drake May brings to the table and how it maybe is rubbing off or how it might rub off in the future on his teammates. And so they called him a fighter, and they just liked the way that the style of play that he brings to the field in terms of the actual quarterbacking of it, meaning if there's extra yards there on a scramble, he's going to try to pick him up. If there's a rush, if there's a free rusher bearing down on him, he's not afraid to absorb that hit and still make a throw, which we saw him do a couple of times against the Rams. So that was interesting to me, talking to Rams coaches, that they're already sort of noticing this intangible stuff and how much that might help the Patriots moving forward. Because when you have a quarterback who's willing to play that way, who's willing to exhibit toughness in the way that a quarterback can limit toughness, the ways in which you could do that at that position are obviously really limited. But the fact that he's already showing some of that stuff, they think could be a big benefit to the Patriots moving forward.
Is it fair to say, because people they knew he was a great athlete and they knew he had a great arm, is it safe to say he's exceeded expectations this season?
Yes. Well, I'll just say for me.
For me, too.
And I was as high on him as anybody. I
me.
called him the best quarterback prospect in this year's class, and it was mostly based on his ceiling. It was what he would be 3 years from now, not what he would be as a rookie. I thought Jaden Daniels, and I still think if you had to pick based on their performance this year,
Certainly.
either Daniels or May, you'd probably go
Sure.
Daniels.
I would pick Daniels or Knicks, but they both played way more college football than he did. I mean, if I had to win
in the
a game
last month, it's been a lot closer.
No, I know.
Jaden Daniels built a nice lead while Drake May was sitting on the bench. If you just look at their last 4 games, you might pick Drake May.
We just had Dave Richard, and I guess Jaden Daniels is hurt. He's playing hurt, so whatever.
But you can tell based on the rushing numbers, they've come way down.
Yeah,
it looks like he's trying to protect himself.
But honestly, if I had a game to win tomorrow, well, I also would want Sean Payton if I had Knicks. But I might take Knicks over May. But certainly not for the season, and not certainly maybe for the season, but certainly not for next season or the season after. May's obviously a way better prospect than him, but I didn't think that it was. I didn't think he was going to be any good this year, and I thought everyone was going to get on him, and it wouldn't be fair. I thought that he was going to, the offensive line was going to be terrible. He'd be running for his life. He'd be throwing a lot of interceptions because he was looking to do too much. All these things that we've seen from other rookie quarterbacks. I thought it was a great draft pick, obviously, and he's way exceeded my expectation.
The rate at which he's improved, I know, has really impressed people with the Patriots too. So whether it's the fundamentals of the footwork, understanding the rhythm and the timing of the offense, whether it's now in the last couple of weeks, this is something that we really didn't, in my opinion, see all that much, for instance, against Tennessee, but now last week against the Rams, you saw it a lot, and the difference is only a handful of weeks. Things like throwing the ball away when there's nothing there. That to me is the sign of a maturing quarterback, especially for a guy who can extend plays as long as we know he can extend them, who can create yards with his legs when things break down, and he'll still do some of that. But the fact that he understands, okay, it's probably smarter for me to put this in the first row, when I don't think he understood that like a month ago in certain situations, it's pretty remarkable, in my opinion, for a guy who's as young as he is, who only had 26 college starts, as Fred's mentioning. Jaden Daniels at 55. Right. Bo Nix, I think, had close to 60 college starts. Like, these guys should be and are so much better developed when it comes to the in-game decision-making, but you're already seeing Drake May make leaps and bounds as far as that goes and doing it in a short period of time.
Because of this amazing learning curve, which you guys are talking about, have we reached a part of the season where there are disappointing losses now for the Patriots? Earlier on in the season, they'd go out and lose games. They're like, oh, they didn't have a chance. At least they kept it close. But last Sunday was certainly winnable. Are we at that point of the year?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think it's good to start holding them to a higher standard. I still will never say this is a good roster.
Sure.
Based on the roster talent.
But he covers up a lot of warts.
He does. And to me, that should force the rest of the organization to be more urgent with everything they do. Because he's ready. He's ready to compete right now. He's going to be ready to compete next year. And so if you thought this was going to be a slow build toward getting the quarterback ready and getting the roster ready, and then maybe by year 3 everything's hunky-dory, everything's fine, and then I just think you need to show more speed when it comes to getting this stuff together, whether it's coaching, games like the games you're talking about, John, or putting the roster together.
Yeah, it's exciting, but I don't want to – we'll talk about it. I wouldn't panic putting this roster together. Don't
there's
put
no,
the cart before
there's
the
no
horse.
panic, but next, Phil is going to tell us where to focus that urgency first.
All right, I'm just going to tell you, put a governor on that thing.
That's a tease.
Call all your friends. Hold on. Turn on Toucher and Hardy. Phil Perry's going to say, they got to be urgent. Wait, what are they going to do first? What should they do first? That's what you're going to do. You're going to tell us.
And he's going to take that Patagonia quarter zip.
I like it when Hardy bosses me around like that.
Yeah, he's definitely a dom.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's slap and tickle.
Good for you.
I'll chase you around a little bit.
It's very important to know what you
That's
like
why
and
he's
you
got
don't
those
like.
puppets. He uses those puppets as an excuse.
They had him out earlier this morning. He was very excited.
Well, listen, I appreciate it. We owe James Stewart a great debt. He has helped us a great deal with some things this year. All right, we'll be back in just a moment with more Phil Perry.
He does have the flexibility to play center and play guard. He's been getting extra work at center. Dave Andrews has a good job with him as well. Going back to, a guy that, he's on IR for the year, but just his leadership remains in the building. And one of those tasks has been, to help Cole understand the center position while he wasn't able to be on the practice field.
We are Dutcher and Hardy. We have Phil Perry from NBC Sports Boston in studio with us. Kind enough to join us for a fee. So he's not altruistic. He's getting paid for this.
Handsomely.
Yes.
Yeah. It's coming out of our checks, too.
Phil, you said that...
Stick around for Brian Beasley. He's one of the owners of the company.
Oh,
he's
that'd be
today.
great. Yeah, would love to meet him.
I bet he'd like the cut of your jib.
Think so?
Yeah, I think so.
You think it's his quarter zip?
I think it's everything. It's the whole package.
I think it's the hair, but that's just...
I mean, it's raining, but if he asked you to go out and, swing the wrenches, I think that you'd be dressed just right, just appropriately enough in this weather.
Thank you.
To do so. All right, we were talking about the development of Drake May and how he is even better than people thought and more NFL ready than people thought. You mentioned how that hastens the process. Like, you got to start putting more talent around him. And Hardy, you had a question.
Yeah.
Where do you start?
Like, where do you start it, and how do you do it? Like, do you go free agent? Do you trade? Do you trade picks to get an established receiver? Obviously, you're drafting. Like, where and how? Is it most urgent?
Priority one.
Here's how it go timing-wise, right? So timing-wise, just on the calendar. Free agencies first, then the draft. Then if you're talking about big-time trades, to me, that would come after the draft, Fred. You're going to have maybe a top 10 pick. It looks like for sure you're going to have a top 10 pick in this year's draft. You're not going to want to trade that pick. What the pick you might be willing to trade is the pick in 2026. Okay, first-round picks in 2026. So if there's a player who's going into the last year of their deal in 2025 and you're willing to trade 2026 picks to get that guy, that would come after the draft. So that's just the timing of it for me. Free agency, draft. Then if you whiff, for example, on your receiver that you're really looking for, that's when you go and you make your trade.
So what are the odds that you pick up a left tackle in free agency, or is that not your first priority anyway?
You're not going to get one.
You're not going to get one, so what do you do in free
You're
agency?
probably not going to get one because those guys don't, generally speaking, change teams all that frequently. The ones that are in their primes that are still really good.
Used to be the quarterback, now it's the left tackle.
No, you're not going to get a left tackle in free agency because the reason that left tackle is leaving is going to be because that the team doesn't want him. You can get a Tyron Smith who has led up more sacks.
You
than
can get
a
left tackle.
Yeah, you can pick up.
You're not going to get the one that you need.
Yeah, you're not going to get a left tackle to take you through this process and make you a Super Bowl contender.
All right, so free agency. What do you do?
Well, listen, I would be looking at tackles just to see if you could get one. There's one who just changed teams in Cam Robinson, who just got traded. He's set to be a free agent this coming year. So
how old
are the Vikings desperate to bring him back because they just dealt for him? He's 29 years old. He's not he's not an all-pro. He's not like but he's a good, solid left tackle in this league.
But if you take him, you got to draft a left tackle, so you would just, why would you take a mediocre left tackle and sign him in free agency? Would you do that above playing
just to make sure you're covered there, Fred? Because the likelihood of you finding your left tackle in the draft, to me, is maybe even worse than in free agency. Because not only are there not that many, especially in this year's class, if you're looking specifically at the crop available to you, but it's a little bit of a projection. Left tackle used to feel good about those guys that had the right frame and the right pedigree in terms of the school they came from. Now you're dealing with guys that barely take legitimate, true pass sets on a regular basis because the screen game and the spread offense is become so popular at the college level, and you have guys that don't run block all that much or all that well because you're not running all that much or all that well at the college level. And so projecting at that position has gotten a lot different. To me, it's easier to project at receiver.
Yeah,
so if you have a top 5 pick and you have the opportunity to get a Travis Hunter or a Tet McMillan from Arizona or somebody of that ilk that you feel like is worthy of that draft slot, I might be more willing to go get the star receiver in the draft and just see what I can make happen in free agency.
Yeah, there's one elite tackle in the draft, according to what I'm looking at right now. And what do I know about who's coming out in the draft? But you do have to draft a tackle.
Yeah, Will Campbell is the guy that you're probably looking at, and I've talked to guys that aren't even sure he's a tackle.
Yeah,
in the
that's
NFL.
the thing. I was reading.
Supposedly his short arms.
He's a guard, and they like that Texas kid who.
Cameron Williams.
Apparently he projects to be a tackle, but as you were saying, Phil, how good he is not known.
So it's just not a great year. Like I think I want to say there were 7 tackles drafted in the first round last year. I just don't think it's that kind of draft this year, unfortunately for the Patriots. So I try to get an immediate stopgap at tackle in free agency, Hardy, and then I'd be drafting for a receiver. You do have enough money, Hardy, where you could pay a receiver and a tackle. Like that is not out of the realm of possibility.
And
so they should be going. They should be going after guys like T. Higgins.
Okay,
Chris Godwin is going to be a free agent. Those would be the kind of guys that I'd be keeping an eye out for.
I have a question. This is a fun one.
Okay.
If you're sitting at 2 in the draft, say Jacksonville's got the first pick, you got the second pick, and Travis Hunter is on the board, and someone wants you to trade down. Someone wants a quarterback at 2. You have the opportunity to get Travis Hunter at 2. You have your quarterback. Is Travis Hunter the kind of talent that you would stick around for? Because he'll play receiver. I mean, you could have him play receiver. Is he the kind of talent you'd stick it to for and take? Or would you want to trade down for lower picks but more picks?
The smart move would be to trade down. I, as a football watching person, like the quote-unquote horse. And so if you could get a guy that will be one of the 2 or 3 best players in the draft and feel really good about it, as opposed to taking 2 players that might be in tiers 2 or 3 of this year's draft class, that would be a tough decision for me. Now, the thing about Travis Hunter is that he might be primarily a corner. I think there are teams that have this sort of Marcus Jones role envisioned for him. Not that he's Marcus Jones talent-wise. He's better than that. But that he would be a full-time corner, and you might use him occasionally at receiver. Would that move you off the spot at all in terms of wanting to take him, Fred, for a team that needs a receiver?
It's funny because he is an equal prospect at both positions.
Can you play him both ways?
Yeah, he's supposed to be.
Can you play him 60 snaps? 65?
No, not in the NFL.
Not like the 80 he's doing in college.
No. You can't play him both. But what you could use him is, like he's saying, you could use him as a corner and then put him in as a gadget guy. And, he's 10 plays on offense. That's a fun tool to have, though. Like, that's the kind of thing coaches want. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the coaches loved Ben Simmons, because he's like a big point kid that could handle the ball. Like, they're obsessed with him, his defensive abilities. That's like what Travis Hunter would be for a coach. I just find him to be a fascinating prospect. And he's a good kid, too. Hard-working kid.
I like the cut of his jib. I do.
Boom. I do.
Yeah. No, I do.
He seems like a really, like a really football-focused kid who's developed himself into this exceptional athlete. Like, he has great natural skills, but he's developed. I'm very high.
My instincts would be not to trade out of that pick.
I would do the same thing, my friend. I would not trade out of that pick if there's an elite kid, he's the best player in the draft. If there's an elite kid there, and you're going to get him because number 1's a quarterback, and you're going to get him at 2, I'd take him too.
I don't know if number 1's going to be a quarterback this year.
I do. I think so. There's teams desperate like that. I think someone's going to trade up to get Cam Ward. I think
could
that
be
someone
Ward.
will.
Could be.
I don't. I think Cam Ward's going.
I think he's going to have a dynamite end of the season and dynamite pre-draft process for that to happen.
Dude,
because I just feel like that. Based on people that I've spoken to, it's just not a good quarterback class. Some of these guys, they're not even sure they're first rounders. Never mind.
But by the way, we didn't think that Penix or
by
Knicks,
now though you
Knicks
knew
were going to go in. They go in the first round. We didn't think so.
Well, okay. I thought the name I was jumping the gun a little bit there. I thought the name you were going to mention was Jaden Daniels because before going into his senior year, nobody thought he was anything
Ward is
close
like Jaden,
to it.
Cam Ward's like it would be a Jaden Daniels situation because he kind of came on late. He's not Jaden Daniels by any stretch of the imagination. No. But is he an NFL quarterback, though? Is he could he be a top 10 quarterback? Because you got to trade. If you think he can be a top 10 quarterback in the league, you got to make that deal. You got to go up to 1 and take him. You have to. But if you think there's a bunch of even talented quarterback, then, I mean, a lot of guys have hurt themselves this year. There's no question.
Yeah.
I mean,
a kid back in Georgia, especially.
Back in Georgia, what's his face in Texas?
Ewers.
Yeah, they've all hurt themselves this year.
It's not great for the Patriots because you'd be dying right now
for
there to be that quarterback prospect that
trade
Fred
down,
is talking
get
about.
a bunch of firsts
or
and
3 or 4
seconds.
of them in case you end up where they are right now. I think they're
great.
scheduled right now to pick at 6.
Not right.
Right? You would
Yes.
love for there to be 4 quarterbacks on the
be
board that everybody's
fantastic.
dying to take, and there might not be one. I'm just telling
Are
you.
you the mind that you go if you have a top 10 pick that you're going offensive line, edge rusher, or receiver? Like that's like that. No matter what your needs, like you're going edge rusher, offensive lineman, or receiver.
I think it's hard to say right now because I'm not sure.
Or corner, which you don't need.
Yeah, I think you take a premium position. When you're drafting that high, you just take a premium position. You've got quarterback already checked, obviously.
Right.
So it should be one of those. There should be somebody who's talented enough to be worthy of that spot. Again, it's hard to say. Is there some generational tight end that I don't even know about right now that,
I think
is going to blow up the combine and, looks like a top 10 pick?
But would you have? But think about that. Like Pitts turned out to be a good tight end with Atlanta, but do you think he was worth the draft position he was in?
And I think he's just sort of been okay.
Yeah, I know.
He's been a disappointment.
I think he's been a disappointment too. Mel Kiper kept going on and on about how that was the best kid in the draft, and that's the danger of taking a tight end that high, is that even if they're really, really, really good, it's your offense. It's, how well can they block? I mean, for all the Gronkowskis and Kelseys, I mean, think of how many good tight ends are in the NFL that just aren't that big a factor comparatively to other positions.
Well, and how about the guy who got picked at number 13 overall this past year, who maybe should have been picked a little bit higher, as a matter of fact, Brock Bowers, who's like setting records for the Raiders right now, and he's on a bad team, and it doesn't matter, but he looks like
right, but that's
a legit big-time tight end.
Because there was talk of like the Jets taking Brock Bowers, and the thing is that's like a luxury pick because Brock Bowers is an elite tight end, and that's going to be great. We'll see how much that means to the Raiders going forward.
I mean, he's got 70 catches for one of the worst teams in football.
Exactly, and then we'll see how that ends up working out for them and how good Vegas is building around Brock Bowers. We'll see that. You get a solid foundational piece on your line, or you get an edge rusher. I think that's more effective. Go ahead. You said something?
Hardy's team took a good tight end, good young tight end. The other,
it worked out really well for him. I wanted to ask.
He's not doing anything this year.
I wanted to ask about the Patriots' offensive line. When will we?
I call him LaForda. Fix or repair daily. Kaboom. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, I'm waiting.
Go to break.
Play it or not? You gonna play?
Cut that part out.
No, don't cut that. That was a solid one. All right, go ahead.
Christian Barmore just showed up at practice. He played last weekend. Cole Strange showed up at practice yesterday. Some needed help for the offensive line is there. When will we see him, and where will we see him?
I think all of that is still TBD. I talked to Strange a little bit yesterday before going out to that practice, and he was excited just to get out there, and I think it's big for him, psychologically, honestly, just to get out there and be able to play, knowing the kind of time and work that he's been putting in just to be in this position to be able to practice. So I'm not anticipating that he's going to play this week. It was a significant knee injury. He hasn't practiced at all. I said the same things about Barmore coming back, and then he ended up playing. And so I think we're going to try to gauge it on a practice-by-practice basis, but I think they would love to get him back out there. The question to me is, where do you play him? Do you play him at center because he's been working there?
I'd rather have him at center. Ben Brown did not look good last week.
He has not looked good. I would also say Michael Jordan has had weeks where he has not looked good.
Ben Brown gave up the quickest sack in the NFL this season last week.
Did he really?
That sack, that
did they
strip
track
sack,
that on next-gen stats?
That strip sack fumble of Drake May was the fastest NFL sack of the season.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen.
I would play him at guard. You got to get him let him get his feet under him. That's all.
And I'll say the offensive line has been a lot better than people expected. I mean, then
I think
Mays
the quarterback's making them look a lot better than they are.
All right, fair enough. You listen. I'll take your word for it. Phil Perry, he covers the Patriots for NBC Sports Boston. He was kind enough to wear a quarter zip today because Hardy wasn't wearing one. And when you get 4 white guys in a room of our age, there has to be someone in a quarter zip.
There has to be someone not wearing a hoodie.
That's the mandate.
Exactly. and preferably a quarter zip.
Yeah.
Because it's business cash around here. We want you all buttoned up.
I'll bring one next week just in case Hardy didn't bring his.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if we could somehow go 2 and 2.
Yeah.
2 hoodies, 2 quarter zips.
I'm all for that. Listen, Hardy, you tell me what to do. I'll be ready.
All right.
Maybe call each other beforehand.
All right, Phil. Thank you so much.
Okay.
We
Thanks,
appreciate
Phil.
the time. We'll be back with the award-winning stack. Find out why it's award-winning in just a moment.
Make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy
That's what I want on my tombstone.
on the Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
Hey everyone, we're Toucher and Hardy. The Stack is brought to you by D'Angelo Grilled Sandwiches, freshly grilled, freakishly good. The D'Angelo Classic Steak and Cheese, savory steak and melty American cheese piled high on golden brown bread. Devour one today, and we had a cookie drop. Who dropped off the cookies?
A Levain Bakery.
What? Levain.
Yes, Levain Bakery.
That's what we used to, when I was in Paris doing gigs. I had this one lady friend, and I'd say, she go, Monsieur Jazz Wallach, and I say, what?
Monsieur,
what woman now?
Monsieur Wallach.
And she say, where to shoot you up? And I'd say, Levain. Levain, baby. Spocket and Levain. If you can't find one, you know where to look. Where do you look, Wallach? Non-Jazz Wallach, where do you look? If I can't find a vein, where am I going?
Your face.
No, my pee-pee.
Oh, that's right. Those were the two choices.
I had a guy who emailed me, and he's like, I actually had to do it. It didn't hurt that bad.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
One of your buddies from college?
No,
the other.
that'd be more high school situation.
No, it was not college. The other, the other place.
Oh, no. There wasn't a lot of that in there. All right.
So somebody.
I also have to say we're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Go ahead.
Well, we'll do a dual email stack here because somebody emailed or commented on the socials yesterday after the photos from Pucks and Paddles emerged that Jazz Wallach has they accused him of not of shooting heroin but shooting steroids because there was a very buff photo of Wallach.
There
one
was
of the Pucks and Paddles.
You are the most fortunate guy photographed. That one, it looks like you have this giant hog, and then because you have that crease.
Been living off that for a while. Yeah.
You know, some women don't want that.
I know.
I've been told.
No, you keep telling yourself.
Well, no, everyone says it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And now you apparently look buff.
I'm not aware of this.
This is John. John's very thin.
I am.
He keeps a very strict diet, and he's a big runner. Do you lift weights, Jonathan?
I have not. No, more running than lifting.
Jonathan, as you age, you have to lift weights. It's the most important thing. Do you know what the most important thing they say on the internet is to judge your muscular skeleton health as you get older?
No.
It's the farmer's carry. You were supposed to be able to carry your weight distributed over with your two hands in the farmer's carry.
Okay.
So how much you weigh?
170.
All right. So what would that be? Divide that by 2 for me, baby, because I can't. 90 and 90 would be 180.
So 85.
All right. 85, let's say. You have to have an 85 pounder of both hands and walk with that.
I see.
Do you think your grip could take that? It's a lot.
Maybe now, do I have to go down and back or just down?
I think that, I don't know, down and back maybe. They're big on the farmer's carry being good.
I don't know if I could do down and back. I could probably do down.
If you do like a longevity study, they even do this at the gym I go to. I haven't done it. They really test your grip strength because that apparently is a big indicator of how you're going to be functional as you age. You know, I'm just one of these guys. I sleep in a cryo chamber. Ice baths, the whole nine.
I think I could do the farmer's carry and equal my weight if it were something useful. Like if I had a generator, like in one arm, and
I see,
like like some kind of a compressor or something in the other,
or two very heavy lunch boxes that the guys fixing the light post wanted you to carry to them.
Yes.
Could you take our lunch boxes off the truck?
How about a cooler stocked with Gatorades in one?
Yeah.
And maybe like a huge Subway party pack in the other.
Ooh, if Hardy had if he was asked by a laborer to pick something up, and Hardy at first was like, "Oh Jesus, I can't do it." His need to impress them would over. It was like when a kid's trapped under a car and a mom can pick it up.
Yeah.
That would be like Hardy with the cooler.
Or when I walk the dog past the fire station this weekend, which I plan on doing.
Yeah,
if they say, hey, can you give us a hand with this hose? I'm like, yeah, you give me, 90 pounds of hose and
I'll be happy to run up the flight of stairs for you.
You just ask Wally. He's got 90 pounds of hose.
There it
90
is.
pounds of hose right there.
There it is. All right.
I had a hoe that was 90 pounds. Veronica, I miss you, baby.
What happened to her, Jazz Wallach?
The white horse done run her over. Bye-bye, Veronica. I love you. But, baby, I'll meet you one day. Hopefully soon.
Oh, no.
Jazz Wallach feels down today.
You're normally so cheery. What's got you down?
I can't kick this, baby.
Can't get that monkey off your back.
Nah. I got gypped. All right.
That's offensive to gypsies. Please don't say that.
I figured it would offend someone somewhere.
All right. So Coachella's lineup has been announced.
I saw it the first night.
Headlining the first night, a very well-respected female artist, Wallach. She appeals to across the board, and now she is a film star as well.
Not Taylor Swift, huh?
Big film star.
Big film star,
Just
Lady
came
Gaga.
out- there you go, Lady Gaga.
Oh, I saw a different festival.
This is Coachella.
Yeah, I saw a different one.
All right. Headlining day number 2, a band that has recently been banned by 2 Las Vegas radio stations because their frontman spoke ill of Las Vegas while performing on stage in the Bay Area.
Oh, that's this is what I saw. Green Day is headlining a night.
There you go.
And the Misfits are. There's one of them ladies that sings now, and then the original Misfits are playing.
Thank you. So I forgot to mention Lady Gaga, day number 1, Missy Elliott, Prodigy also on the bill, but day number 2, Green Day, something called Charlie XCX, Misfits, and the Go-Go's are also slated in there.
Now,
There's a couple of vintage acts thrown in there.
I am a big Go-Go's fan, as I am a big Misfits fan. But which one of you is not a Misfits fan? Oh, it's Adam.
It's me.
Yeah, it's Adam. He doesn't care for the darkness of it. He
don't
can't handle it.
I don't claim enough to know whether I'm really a fan or not.
I don't know why anyone wouldn't like the
I'm
Misfits.
more in Cardi's camp, actually. It's not that I'm not a fan. I just haven't done the deep dive that it would
There's
take
no
to...
deep dive. Their songs are catchy, and he's got a cool voice.
Yeah, if I'm going to be an active non-fan of something, though, chances are I'll know more about that band than I do bands I like. It's called informed viciousness. It's one of my favorite things in life. I'm going to find out about things I really don't like, and
I don't do any of that.
No,
that's not any. That doesn't sound like something I've done.
Day number 3, Coachella headliner. We were just talking about him yesterday, and many days. Got a lot of face tattoos. Can't figure out.
Oh yeah, the day everyone leaves. Post Malone.
There you go. Along with Megan Thee Stallion and Kraftwerk, who has an album.
Kraftwerk is still out there?
Kraftwerk has an album that is turning 50 years old
Okay,
this year.
here's the deal: is that someone somewhere has got to start listening to rock music. I know Kraftwerk are the original electronic band, and I find them unlistenable. But a lot of people I respect like them very much. But someone's got to form a rock band that someone pays attention to. Can anyone out there just find a rock band that you can pay attention to? So bands like Kraftwerk don't have to get back together to play these festivals. And I imagine Kraftwerk are exhilarating live, as it's 5 guys behind machines.
I can't imagine.
And
I
it's
really
not
can't.
like super heavy dance music either.
No.
Like the first Kraftwerk album is considered this classic. It's impossible for me to listen to.
And not that it should matter because they're obviously an electronic act too, but didn't the main guy from Prodigy die? So Prodigy.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Keith Flint passed away. So
Yeah.
Well, they had a
what are
song
they
with the
doing
B word in it, so I'm out.
Yeah.
And the sample is from Cool Keith.
Yes, it is.
Well,
Cool
he only
Keith.
used the B word because it rhymed with "change my pitch up." It's the only reason why they included the lyric.
It was
of
about Sandy
smacking.
Koufax and the way he changed his script.
Sure. All right. Another musical artist suffering a setback, though. Sammy Hagar. Big financial hit.
Yeah, this is actually interesting.
Sammy Hagar and Guy Fieri and they're jointly owned tequila company.
So the two of them together, and it's like everyone in the fashion.
A lot of flames all over the place.
Well, hang on a second. Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar. So every art dealer, every fashion maven, they're all hanging around. Like they have this like jet set of cool people all over them.
This is gonna be money.
Yeah, so they partnered up. Listen to how much this is worth. Go ahead.
So they were hijacked. A truck full of their tequila, just as it comes across the border from Mexico into Texas. The truck, multiple trucks, transporting over 4,000 cases of 3 different kinds of tequila. They were robbed in Laredo, Texas, and they said it was an organized crime effort where the trucks were illegally double brokered to different carriers who transferred the product to their trucks. $1 million worth of tequila.
Oh. Which the Guy Fieri is a tip at a strip club.
It's going to be tight.
Yeah. I don't know about that. That's well-worn ground.
Hijackers saw some of that Sammy Hagar tequila and said,
"This is gonna be money."
I somehow have a couple issues with this story. A, why would anyone do that? It sounds like the most cumbersome crime of all time. And 2, I don't believe by any stretch of the imagination that's $1 million worth of tequila that was stolen.
The one type of tequila is the extra añejo.
Yeah, whatever.
Variety. That's like if it's a couple $100 a bottle.
Yeah, fine. Maybe retail, they're trying to get money, obviously, out of this. So, and also the press is worth way more than tequila. But say that, what do you think in manufacturing cost was taken off those trucks? 10 grand? I mean, get out of here with this. And by the way, Sammy Hagar's made a tremendous amount of money off that Cabo Wabo tequila. Him and Shep Gordon, who's his agent. The agent of Alice Cooper. Great documentary about Shep Gordon. Definitely. I've watched it numerous times. Shep Gordon was the agent of Alice Cooper. He's Sammy Hagar's agent. Watch that. So he's a great businessman. But who's actively seeking out a project with Sammy Hagar and Guy Fieri? Both of whom I don't dislike. But I just wonder why you would go, I like tequila. I wonder if those two made it. Don't you want some dude in Mexico that's grown up in a family that's been doing it for generations?
It's called Cabo Wabo. I mean, that's Mexican enough.
And out of the hundreds of thousands of dollars of alcohol I probably drank over the course of my life, I can honestly tell you now that I don't believe anyone can tell the difference, particularly in taste.
It's Guy Fieri's involved, though.
Winner, chicken dinner.
You can tell a bad tequila. But these tequila tasting menus just sound like a way to get you to do a shot that costs a lot of money.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Chicken finger.
Scott's here. Scott did not like. You didn't like the interview we did with the baseball card guy.
I totally liked it.
Oh, you did? I thought it was interesting.
I was just having a casual conversation with you guys, so I could say bye at the end of our talking. It was part of your head.
Yeah. How did you say bye?
Well, I said. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Anyone read it with both heads?
It did go over my head. I apologize.
Request a song.
I did.
I apologize. Well, that's dated material.
Get more creative now.
Yeah, he takes them off the headlines. All right, very good. Thank you, Scott. We appreciate it. Everyone, Zolak and Bertrand's up next. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
For coming out to Cuts for a Cause and all that, and thank you to the Bruins. And
did you hear about the train wreck at 2 on the radio?
No.
All timer. The audio went down, internet went down. They weren't on air for 25 minutes.
What'd we play?
We stayed for 5. They thought they were back on. We started to do F1. I was trying to call him to interview him about the day Felger was out, how he had no friends.
Oh, yeah.
When you and Felger legitimately got into it? Yeah.
And it's just and then all hell went loose when we were on the ride home. And it's just, Jimmy was playing rejoin after rejoin after rejoin.
I didn't go up to them. Did you go up to them there? I didn't go up to him because I think that's such a favor to Felger. Just not saying like while they're like doing stuff. I just didn't go
Oh,
up
I
to
wait
him.
till Felger left. I said hi to Maz and Murray.
Yeah.
That's what I
I figured the biggest gift I could give Felger was just not to bother him.
To leave him alone.
Yeah, just to leave him alone.
Felger gave me
Everyone agrees that's the move with him, right?
Yeah, no, he gave me the quick chuck on the shoulder and disappeared. I talked to Maz and Murray.
He don't want to talk to me. And I don't think he wants to talk to anyone. I don't think he dislikes me. I know he doesn't dislike me. There's no reason to. But for him and I. There might be reasons to dislike me on the air, but I've never done anything to him off the air. What?
Might be 5 of them or something.
5's pretty good.
And now he's totally redeemed. All right, that'll do it for us.
I get it.
Everyone.